Notre Dame fans, welcome back to a special edition, a very special edition of the Irish Breakdown podcast, because it is not only Friday free-for-all or Friday mailbag, but it is also Christmas Eve, and we're a day away from Christmas, and Vince is super hyper and excited today. I think he's had about 1 million sugar cookies this morning because he is super fired up. He's rocking the Santa Claus hat. It is going to be a fun day, and we are going to obviously answer a ton of your questions, but one of the things we wanted to discuss at the beginning, and this is going to be a football show, but there's some really important things we have to discuss. First of all, number one, I want to give an update on we haven't officially, I'm making the final transaction today, but after today, we will have finally spent all the money that we raised in November for our special. I dropped off over $1,000 worth of clothes last night to Hope Ministries, which is a homeless shelter in town. They had a need for some clothes that they were having a hard time getting. It was actually, my wife actually is the reason for that. She found a special on Kohl's. They had a 40% off online sale. She bought about $2,000 worth of clothes for about $1,100. So
that's awesome.
We were able to get a lot more. And then today we're going to be working with the Boys and Girls Club of South Bend, who is a partner of the Notre Dame football team as well, to start what they basically want to. They've been wanting to do this for a while. They haven't been able to do it, but essentially start a local emergency fund, which is essentially a fund for food, baby clothes, things along those lines. All the things we said we were going to do that they just haven't had the money for, they haven't been able to get grants for, and we're going to step in and fill that void. And it's going to be sort of a thing that's a sort of an Irish breakdown fund. So they're super excited about it. I'm super excited about it.
That's awesome.
And it's happening, finally right around Christmas. So very, very exciting times. Finally got that done. And just so people know in the chat, it's not going to be official. We're not going to announce it till next week, but I have hired 2 new recruiting reporters. They are going to get started here January 1, basically, but we're going to announce who those are going to be next week. And there's one more person I'm trying to convince to come join our team, and I'm hoping that we can get a nice, awesome 3-man staff of recruiting reporters, because I promised y'all when we started this back in January, February,
that
if you supported us and you helped us grow, we're going to reinvest it back into the company and make this thing better. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I can't wait. I can't, I'm like, man, I don't think I can wait till the 30th or the 31st to announce these new hires. Like,
I know, right?
Now I'm like that, that person got like that really awesome Christmas present for your wife, and you got it super early, and you're just like, I can't wait that long.
You're not wrong.
That's how I feel. But so I'm super excited about that. We're really gonna just really dive headfirst into the recruiting content next year. And then part of that too was also I contemplated making another staff change, and that was firing Vince. Because Vince and I last night had a conversation about our 5 favorite Christmas movies. And I don't mind that Vince's list is different than mine. I think his list is perfectly fine. But he had some shade to throw at one of my favorite movies that made me question our friendship, made me question whether or not he was the right person for this job. Because I'm heartbroken at some of the comments, Vince. So we're just going real quick. We said we told y'all yesterday we're going to say what our top 5 favorite Christmas movies are. So Vince,
I got a list of about 10 here.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But you start off with your first 5, and then I'll list my 5, and then we'll go from there.
All right. So to preface that, I'm a little bit of an old soul, I would say. When it comes to movies and music and things of that nature. And so I guess there's really not a lot of new stuff on here. So here's my list without further ado, because people on Twitter really wanted us to put out the list yesterday because you teased that my job is on the line because our list was different.
It's not that our list is different. It's the shade you threw at one of the movies on my list.
Just because I sent it to you in all caps.
Un-American and borderline communist. It just, you're lucky I'm a forgiving person. But anyway, let's get your list. Let's get your list.
So my number one by far, it outweighs everything. And again, this is the old soul in me talking. It's White Christmas. It's White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye and all of
Danny effing Kaye. That's the only thing I know about White Christmas.
Dude, it's on Netflix right now. So you need to go watch it. Just put it on in the background. Whatever. Okay.
I'm good.
It's worth your time.
I'm good.
Telling you, it's my favorite, and I watch it every year. While
I don't need to watch Bing Crosby dancing with Danny effing Kaye. I don't need to.
First of all, okay, He's a crooner. He sings. He's a singer. Okay.
That's obviously from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
I know, which is also on my list, by the way, but it's not number one.
Let's get to your list. Let's get to it.
Let's get number to it. 2, Home Alone. That came out when I was about that age. I identify with it. I love that show or that movie, and my kids love it too. We watch it every year together. So Home Alone is number 2. Number 3 is Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That one had to be on the list. No question about it. Even though it wasn't high enough for Brian,
it wasn't. It wasn't. List. I mean, that was strike number 1 right there.
That's fair. Here we go. Number 4, The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. I love that whole trilogy.
That's all mine.
But the
only
first
one we had in common. We both had it at 4.
That's a great one. I love that one so much. And number 5 is Elf. It's a great one. I love Elf more than I thought I would, to be honest with you. But every time I watch it, I laugh. So I that's my number 5. And so, do you want me to give some honorable mentions or just?
Well, let me do my 5, and then we'll kind of go there. My 5 is number 1, Christmas Vacation. Clearly, for a host of reasons, that's my favorite Christmas movie.
It's on both of our lists.
Yes, and number 2, A Christmas Story. I think that's a great all-time classic. It's one of the ones I watch. There's 3 movies I watch every year around Christmas, and it's my top 3 movies: Christmas Vacation, A Christmas Story, and then number 3, the one of 2 Christmas action movies that's on my list, and that's Die Hard. And then number 4 is The Santa Claus. We had that in common. And then number 5 is one of the new ones. It's The Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell. They made 2 of those recently, and they were both, I thought, really good. The second one was a little bit darker, so I couldn't put it on my list. Great ending, but the whole thing was a little darker in the middle. But I thought they were really well done. Great graphics. I thought the acting was really good. The storylines were really fun.
I love the scene in the jail when they're singing and everything.
Oh, yeah. Classic. It was a lot of fun. And that's partly what made it a Christmas movie for me, as opposed to just a movie about Santa Claus. You know what I mean? It kind of made it a Christmas movie for me. But that's my 5. And there's a lot that, I don't dislike Elf. I think Elf is funny. It just isn't one of my top 5. I'm usually not a Will Ferrell fan when he's kind of trying to carry a movie by himself. I like the ones where he's got some more sidekicks, like Talladega Nights and Step Brothers to a degree, and John C. Reilly, I think, is what makes a lot of those movies, not Will Ferrell. But The Holiday is a movie I actually really like. Some people may laugh at that, but I kind of view it as a Christmas movie.
I know which one you're talking about.
Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz, Jack
very rom-comish.
It is, but it's I like it, but it's not on my top 5. Home Alones were not really. I mean, they were fun when I was a kid, but I think it'd be different if I had kids, because I could share that experience with my kids. But I don't.
That's a big part of it. I will agree with that. Yeah,
and I don't. So there's a lot of good Christmas movies. It's just I watch usually. I haven't done it recently, but I usually used to watch. I'm drawing a blank with goodness gracious, Vince. The classic we were talking about last night. Why not Miracle on 34th Street, but the other one. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Oh, Wonderful Life?
Yeah, Wonderful Life. Goodness gracious.
That's my number 6. So I'm not just missed.
Right. So for me, I'm not mad that Vince's list was top 5. I'm mad that Vince said I hate Christmas Story and then put all caps on the hate.
Hate it.
And it just made me question everything I thought I knew about him. And then he said he's only seen Die Hard once, maybe twice.
It's true.
And it's like you come up with those takes back to back. And it's just like, how are we even friends? Like, how do I even know you right now? Like, are you on drugs? I was thinking like it was like late, it was way past his bedtime. So
Christmas Story. Number 1, and look, and this is one of those people say that I don't stand firm on my takes. Well, guess what? I am planting a flag. I'm building a house, and this is where I'm going to live. Mm-hmm. Number 1, it's not a great movie to begin with, and then on top of it, it's overdone. 24 hours of that freaking movie every Christmas day.
Okay, but I don't watch 24 hours. I
understand that.
Watch it once.
But it's like in your face, like you have to love this movie.
I understand. TNT is a little lame, but that's why I don't watch it. But some others that were on my list, Scrooged with Bill Murray, I thought is really funny. not on my top 5. A Christmas Carol. There's been a couple different versions of A Christmas Carol that I've really liked. Some of the older ones. There's one.
Is it wrong that I like the Muppets version? The Muppets Christmas
No,
Carol? That's
no. I mean, again, you have kids, so I understand it. You're like, kids. I don't watch with my kids. I don't watch it by myself. They've gone to bed. But there was one with Patrick Stewart that I thought was pretty good that came out several years ago. So I like the Christmas stories. I'm trying to think. So I mean, there's been a lot of good ones. I've never actually seen John DeCrisio put up Polar Express. I've actually never seen Polar Express.
Polar Express is solid. That's on my that's on my list as well. And I also have Holiday Inn is another Bing Crosby movie. I like that one, so I'm going to throw that one. I'm a big Bing fan. All right, so it is what it is. I know it's my old soul. I love Bing Crosby. Sorry. Miracle, the old Miracle on 34th Street, the one that the first one. That's the one I really like, not the newer version that came out in the 90s.
Right.
Newer, it's in the 90s.
Right.
And then I think that's and the Grinch. I do really like the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch. Jim Carrey is hilarious.
Yeah.
And there's some lines in there that I watch with my kid because they love that movie, so it's on all the time. But I laugh every time. Like he is hilarious to me in a lot of things. This particular movie, he is hilarious. So that's my favorite version of the Grinch.
That one was good. I like the cartoon better.
Yeah, I get that.
And
get that. And it's shorter.
Fine. Yeah. And like I remember when we were kids, we'd watch like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the cartoon. We'd watch the little. It wasn't a cartoon, but it was like the little figures.
It's the stop action. It's the stop motion or whatever you call it. Yeah.
With the DBZ with a super chat. Thank you, DB. He said Trading Places is more of a Christmas movie than Die Hard. It's a Wonderful Life all the way.
It's a Wonderful Life. Solid.
I love It's a Wonderful Life, but like I guess it's more tradition for me than like favorite. You know what I mean? Like, I like it though. But Trading Places, I guess, I mean, I get why Trading Places on. I mean, there's even a scene with Dan Aykroyd. It's with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis. There's a scene where Dan Aykroyd's in a Christmas costume at a Christmas party. So I get it. But I don't really feel like it's a Christmas movie because it happens over a period of time and Christmas just happens to kind of fall in that time.
Yeah.
Whereas Die Hard happens like, isn't it like Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or something like that?
It's Christmas Eve, I think.
Right. And so it kind of all happens like right then. And, the scene at the end, he pulls the gun out. He's got the wrapping. He's got the Christmas tape. You know what I mean? And I just think it's good. Vince's severance package. First of all, Triple Deck Post already fired you. You are gone. And he says Vince's severance package will include a copy of Die Hard with the director's cut. Merry Christmas, IB.
That's great. That's great. Hey, look, I can laugh at that. That's good stuff, man.
And for anyone who doesn't have a sense of humor, I'm obviously not firing Vince over his script. I'm not firing Vince, period. I'm not firing him over his lack of taste in Christmas movies.
There's a person in my family who is over the age of 15 who has not ever seen A Wonderful Life. So that is on my list of things to do over the next week. That's happening. So I can't believe I've made it
never
this long.
seen it? You said you've never seen it, right?
I have seen it many times. The other person has not seen it. And that I can't believe I've gone this long in my relationship with this particular individual and this is not happening.
That's almost as bad as if that friend told you he didn't like A Christmas Story. That's almost that bad.
So bad.
Yeah. Yep. And Searcher Green says no Scrooge, huh? Fails. We don't have it in our top 5, but like I said, it's on my list of movies that I really like.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I'm a big Bill Murray fan too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
No question about it.
So lot of I've always kind of liked Christmas comedies more so than like as far as liking them. But it was kind of funny when I put my list together. It wasn't like all comedies. I had because Christmas Chronicles isn't a comedy, and then Die Hard is obviously not a comedy. So, but Let me see. Vince looks too much like Mike Ellison and Cousin Eddie had a baby today.
Wow,
that's harsh.
Did you see on Twitter that Cousin Eddie, the actor, had said he goes, if somebody gives me $1 million, I'll stand on their front lawn in a bathrobe and smoking a cigar.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty funny.
He's hurting for cash.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, he's yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny though.
Yep. So he said he's about to go bring BK into Brian's living room wrapped in a ball.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
Oh my goodness gracious! Some great ones here. Some great ones here.
That's great.
Yes. So anyway, everybody, and so somebody was like, as long as you don't have any
Christmas in Connecticut. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
that's an oldie as well. That's a good one.
So a lot of people made comments on Twitter last night about holiday Christmas movies on Hallmark. So just so you know, I cannot badmouth Hallmark Christmas movies because I'd like to stay married. So my wife will watch a ton of Christmas movies. And if I don't then record them all, I don't know why it's my responsibility, but if I don't then record all the new ones that are produced in 2021, somehow I get in trouble.
Really? So you go through you go through them all then? I mean,
I have to. Yeah, it's like daily. I'll just kind of go through which ones are on today, which ones are in 2021. It's a little easier now with YouTube TV because you can kind of just do more of a search thing, But yeah,
that's true. Look, whenever my wife and I watch a movie, it's usually one of those this time of year. So, but you know what? It's peace and quiet, and I'm good. So, I like a good rom-com, though. I'm okay with it. I've watched The Holiday more than once.
Yeah.
So
it's I guess I just part of this, I didn't necessarily view that movie as a Christmas movie, even though it kind of centered a lot around. It's like Christmas is just kind of like the time of the year. There's not like actual Christmas stuff really going on. So that's why I didn't. Another reason I was hesitant to put it on there, but there's a lot of great Christmas movies.
Absolutely.
And then Science Fitness has
Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. You can't go wrong with that. Those are the classics. It's like, the Great Pumpkin and all of those things. Yeah, you can't go wrong with those.
Right. And there's some ones on there that people had that I didn't like. Like I didn't like Bad Santa. I don't like it where like Santa's portrayed as a
Bad Santa was a little much for me.
Yeah.
It crossed a lot of lines, and I realized that was the whole point of that movie.
Right.
But it just, it doesn't sit well.
Yeah. So that's just not the kind of season that I want to see, made fun of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Frosty the Snowman as a kid kind of, was always an interesting one. It's one that you always look at. But yeah, the Santa Clauses were all good, but you made the right point, Vince. The first one was definitely
the first one was by far. They got a little cheesy towards the end.
Yeah.
But I like Tim Allen. I liked Home Improvement. Like, it helps when you like the actor to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept of the movie I thought was pretty cool, and they pulled it off. So
yeah. Somebody also said, why isn't Gremlins being discussed as a Christmas movie? And I kind of thought about it, because wasn't Gizmo kind of a present?
Was he?
Like a lot?
I haven't seen that movie in 20 plus 30 years.
Yeah, it was around Christmas time. So yeah, that was another one. But I guess I wouldn't, even if I considered Gremlins a Christmas movie, I wouldn't. It was iconic at the time, but it's not like a movie I've gone back and like rewatched. So I guess that's kind of another reason why I didn't really think about it, because I was like, well, I haven't seen that one since I was little. So somebody else, I saw a list earlier as I was going through, like making sure I hadn't forgotten a movie. Somebody put Edward Scissorhands as a Christmas movie. It's
wow.
Like, what?
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a little like, all right, that's kind of weird.
People are commenting on my Santa hat. It's old. This is from, if I'm not mistaken, this is from an 8th grade like Christmas pageant thing that we had to do, that I lifted the hat and I've kept it ever since. Yeah. So I wear it every Christmas morning with my kids. They love it. It's just a tradition in our house. They were all fired up when I got it out a day early today. So,
all right, and then we're going to pull this up, and then we're going to get back to football. We're going to talk football. Okay. David Carpenter with Super Chat. Thank you, David. I enjoyed 8-Bit Christmas. I'd never seen it. It's a Christmas story, and Princess Bride had a baby. We've watched it quite a few times this year. Good 80s vibes.
Interesting.
So yeah, I have to put that on my list. I'm like putting a lot of these ones that I've never seen like on my list.
8-Bit Christmas. I'm writing that one down.
Yep.
Never heard of it.
Yep.
But hey, I am willing. I'm willing to check them out. Mm-hmm. And just so everybody knows, if I have a copy of Die Hard someplace, if it's on one of the streaming services, that's what I'm going to do with my son over the next week. So everybody can just relax. I'm not anti-Die Hard. It's just not on my list. So he has never seen it.
Makes it pretty anti-Die Hard. You said you told me you've never seen it.
No. I saw it once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it.
You said I have seen Die Hard once, maybe twice.
That's just, but,
it's disturbing.
Just one of those things I didn't need to come back to. I got it.
Very disturbing.
It's on Peacock. Thank you very much. Okay.
Very disturbing. then, of course, we had a super chat before the show even started from Old Grim. Old Grim, thank you. We haven't heard a lot from you lately, Old Grim. Glad you're doing well. Glad you're still with us.
Absolutely.
Says, Merry Christmas. Just a small gift for you, and we greatly appreciate it. Vince, I'm going to work through these super chats if you want to get back up to the top and get ready to rock and roll with those.
Sounds good.
Ed says, how scripted are the first 24 or so plays that Notre Dame runs at the start of the game? Vary, with the exception of situational football.
Right.
So you will script your first 15 or so plays. Notre Dame, I believe, does the same thing. I haven't heard any differently. What you do is you call plays, but you also have to be able to adjust for situations. So, for example, if you have on your call sheet on the third play to run a off tackle play at a 12 personnel and you're in 3rd and 15, you're going to go to your 3rd down and long call sheet, right?
Or if you're on the goal line and you've got
3rd
4
and short
called,
exactly, exactly. Well, I mean, why'd you run 4 verts at the 2? Well, the sheet said that we have, so you always switch it for situations. If you have a sudden change situation where you take the ball over in the red zone, your first play is a play action bomb. Obviously, you're not going to go to that. So the way a play sheet is often created, and the air raid guys are a little different, and I don't quite understand how they put their play sheets together, because it's usually like these little tiny cards. But more pro style guys, and this is how Notre Dame has been. You have your script, right? Your openers, what you call the openers. And then you have a bunch of other different categories. So you have your starters. We would do that as kind of like, here's things we like to start drives with. You have your 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, and then 3rd and long calls. You have your red zone calls. You have your coming out calls. So like when you're backed up kind of in your own 10-yard line or inside your own 5, here's some calls that we have. And then you have obviously your base calls. Those are just things that you kind of call all the time.
Calls.
You have your 2-point conversion calls. You'll have exactly. Sudden change. I've been on stats where we had a sudden change call sheet. So you kind of study what the team does when they come out of a turnover. Do they tend to do this or do that? And then what do you want to call to it? So you may have some sudden change stuff. You may have blitz beaters. You have some things on there that you've put together that, hey, if they're going to be blitzing us a lot, here's some things we like to go to. There's all types of different things that you like, and then the other side, you kind of break it up. Sometimes you can break it up. People do it different ways. I was on a staff once where we kind of, we on the opposite side of our call sheet is just kind of like all of our calls out of so here's all the ways we can call, Dolphins, right? And that was our double post concept. Here's the ways we practice. We can call Dolphins. So then on the flip side of our call sheet, we'd have all of our plays kind of in the ways that we practice them or we thought we could game plan. Because the thing about it is you can, if your line knows how to block a play and your receivers know the concepts, you can just kind of call something that you didn't necessarily practice out of a certain formation. Like as long as you practice Dolphins and the players know the route concepts for Dolphins and you only practice it 2x2 during the week, you can call it 3x1 in the game if the situation calls for it because they know the rules and the pass protection doesn't change. You can make that adjustment. So you may have some things like that on a call sheet. But for Notre Dame, a lot of teams that first 15 or so plays, and I've been in games too where, and I think I've said this before, where we would kind of go through our script and they weren't even close to stopping us. So we're like, hey, let's roll through it again.
Yep.
See if
when you set up your script, you set up for because when you put a game plan together, there's certain runs, right, that are going to be part of your game plan. And so you make sure those are in the script. There's certain pass concepts that are going to be in your game plan because that's what you've decided. So those go in your script. There are certain things that you put in because you want to see how the defense is going to adjust to you, right? So you put those into the script because that will tell you something for later on. There's all kinds of different ways to set up a script. I used to have a script when I was a head freshman high school coach. You know what I mean? Because not only does it help with your game plan, but for me, it would help calm me down a little bit. Like, okay, we're getting into the groove with play calling, go off the script. And then once you kind of get a flow of the game and you get a feel for how it's going, then you kind of go into being more creative with your play calling and things like that. Like it helped me because I would get fired up for games. I'd be excited. I'd be emotional just like the kids. And so that kind of helped me get into the swing of things, if you will.
And there's things you want to do to probe, right? Like, hey, we're going to run our base concept, but let's try it out of a couple different formations to see how they react to heavy, see how they react to overload, see how they react to shift, see how they react to, trips and things like that. And so you may call a safer play out of a trips look because you're not sure how they're going to react to trips
and how they line
so
up.
you
to
call
it, yeah.
trips, but you're not the trips how they line up isn't necessarily impacted by it because you have a run play called or a screen or something like that. So those are all things that are part of it. Phil Anderson with a super chat. Thank you, Phil. Brian and Vince, Merry Christmas, and thank you for all you do. I usually am working when you guys are on, but avidly listen to all the podcasts and love following the message board. You guys are my number one Notre Dame guys, and it means a lot. That means a lot, Phil.
Seriously,
I truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate it. And Savage Science Fitness, Vince, is agree with you as the number one Christmas movie.
Yes. I mean, those of us that love that movie were probably dying out. That's the problem because I think it was made in the.
This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. Toe Jam 1992. Jim Harbaugh's favorite Christmas movie is Love Actually. I love it.
Just the shade being thrown. I love
it. Kevin O'Neill, Merry Christmas. Thank you for the super chat, Kevin. Merry Christmas, gents. Same to you, Kevin. Do you guys think Buckner will play more in the Fiesta Bowl than he has been throughout the season? We had another question about that.
Yeah,
Vince.
It's up at the top. It's right here.
So I'll throw that up.
C-Max says, do you agree with Mike Golick that although this is Jack Cohn and the seniors' final game, that Marcus Freeman and Tommy Rees will play Tyler Buckner a lot and other future starters and make a statement?
I mean, part of me wants, my initial thought is no, they're not going to do that just to make a statement. They're going to do that to try to, if they decide to do that, it's to try to win.
It's part of the game plan. Yeah.
Yes. I think that, let me be careful what I say here. I think we'll see some different linemen. I think that we'll see obviously younger receivers and younger backs, but I mean, a lot of those guys are going to play anyway because of injuries.
Exactly.
Will they play Buckner more? I think they'll play Buckner more if the game calls for it. Do I think Tyler Buckner is going to be part of the game plan? Yeah, I think he's going to be part of the game plan. He's kind of been that a lot this season. I think it's going to be a lot like what we've seen during the season. You have to go into this game prepared to play Tyler Buckner a decent amount because of the way that Oklahoma State defends.
Correct.
There were games in November where Tyler Buckner didn't play a ton, where he was ready to play a ton because they had practiced for it. But Jack Cohn just came out and just the offense was clicking, and it's like, we don't want to mess that up.
Right.
Smart of Tommy Rees to be that way. And then if the offense was sputtering, then you've got the Tyler package kind of ready to rock and roll. So I think that that's going to be like it's been a lot. Now, the reason I want to say no is because of what the coaches have said publicly about, look, we're trying to win a game.
Right.
And you're not trying to make a statement. You're trying to win a game. And if that means Jack Cohn plays 99% of the snaps, and that means Jack Cohn plays 99% of the snaps. But as we've said since fall camp, we'd like to see Tyler Buckner part of the game plan. It's just use him correctly. And part of that is from a timing standpoint. The other part of me says, well, look, Mike Golick Jr. and Tommy Rees were teammates for a long time. So I doubt that Mike Golick's making that comment without having some sort of conversation with Tommy Rees.
He's been at practice at least a few times this year already.
So could that be where maybe he was at the early practices and saw a lot of young guys and is thinking they're just going to do that? I don't, which they always do early in fall in bowl prep.
Well, they were doing that at the practice we saw. I mean, it was mostly young guys. Yeah.
I think they're going to try to win the game. I mean, that's the reality of it. And Marcus Freeman has to win this game. They have to win this game. I mean, they need this momentum. And I don't think they're going to go out there and play a bunch of, younger guys for next year, unless they feel those guys can help them win.
Right. Agreed.
That's kind of where I get to it. And we'll get to a lot of these other questions. I just want to throw the super chats up real quick. DBZ, we got yours. I'm still having to think about the Trading Places. I really don't see that as a Christmas movie, but I've seen some lists that have it that way. We got the Severance Package, Charlie Brown Christmas, just working through some of these. David Carpenter's.
Toe Jam's got a good one.
Here we go. Toe Jam with super chat. Here's a super chat so Vince can get his Santa hat dry cleaned. You guys have a lot of comments to say about like the clothes we wear and whether we have facial hair or not. Like
they're worried about it.
A lot of opinions on stuff like that.
I love it.
Very interesting. Thank you, Toe Jam. Garth Cassidy, Fred Claus. I didn't particularly like that very much.
It was weird. I like Vince Vaughn. I am a Vince Vaughn fan. That one was a little strange.
Well, it's because he has one he has one character that he plays in every movie.
That's not wrong.
You put that character in a Santa movie, and it was just kind of weird.
Yeah,
and even though I love what's Paul Giamatti, right? Who's played Santa Claus. He's a phenomenal actor.
Sam Adams,
but John Adams.
Excuse me.
Phenomenal series.
So good.
But he's such a good actor. He couldn't even carry Vince Vaughn in that one. And the one funny scene I liked though was all the brothers of the famous people in that counseling group. It was like Sylvester Stallone's brother. Wasn't Roger Clinton in there too? That was freaking great. It's like the support group for all the famous brothers.
That was great.
That was the one I liked in that. And then Santa Claus's brothers there, Fred Claus. That was great.
I forgot about that one.
That was about the only part of that movie that I liked. K Grant with a super chat.
Thanks,
appreciate
Kay.
that. Jim Holler, Merry Christmas. Merry and blessed Christmas, IB Nation. Same to you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Very much. Jordan Schreiber says, you coach D2. Are the Montana and Dakota schools so consistently good because there are no Division I programs in state? How'd they do if moved up? I never coached D2. I coached Division III for most of my career and then spent a year at the FCS level, so 1AA. It was 1AA at the time. Now it's called FCS. But how would they do if they moved up? Montana, well, number one, Montana's 1AA as well. North Dakota State's 1AA, so maybe that's what he kind of means by that. But I don't think that's really the reason, because if you look at Montana's roster, there's usually not a ton of kids from Montana on the roster. I mean, there's some, but like as far as like who the best players are, there's a lot of kids on the roster because it's a state school. But there's not like, a lot of the best players are from California, Texas, Washington, stuff like that. Same thing with the North Dakota schools. I don't think there's like this hotbed of recruits that they don't have to split with anybody else in North Dakota kind of thing. But I think it's just about, number one, it's about they've established programs that win. They are sort of in an area where they recruit. They have good recruiting strategies. Bobby Houck did a great job at Montana the first time. He's doing a pretty good job the second time around. North Dakota State, Craig Bowl really got that program rolling, and they just have made good hires ever since that have been able to kind of keep it rolling. And it gets to the point where it's like, now that they've had the success they've had, a lot of kids want to go there. James Madison's been a really strong 1AA program the last 10, 15 years in Virginia. But they get a lot of those kids, because the reason I'm bringing up James Madison is because, that's another program recently won a national title. I think did they go to the title game again this year? Did they go, or was it semifinals? I'm trying to remember how deep. They made it pretty deep this year as well. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to pull the bracket up here real quick. So I'm pretty sure James Madison went to so they went to the semifinals. They lost to North Dakota, and then North Dakota and Montana State play this year. Montana and Montana State, I believe, both made the playoff this year. Am I correct on that, Vince?
I think that sounds right.
I'm trying to see. I know Montana. I thought, Montana got beat by James Madison. That's right. I was right on that. Well, James Madison's kind of the opposite. The reason I'm bringing that up is because James Madison's kind of the opposite. Like, here's the interesting thing. The semifinals of the FCS were Montana State, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and then James Madison. And so you could look at it, Sam Houston was from Texas, was in there. Sam Houston was the number one seed. East Tennessee State was in the quarterfinals. Montana, James Madison, and Villanova. So I think those programs just kind of roll. I think what I look at it as is, I think part of the reason that they're successful is because there's not as many FCS schools at the North and Northwest, as opposed to there's a ton of them in the Southeast and the Southwest.
Right.
And so that talent gets spread out a little bit in the whole region. It's not so much the in-state thing. I don't think, like I said, there's not a ton of NFL players or elite All-Americans at the FCS level coming from Montana or North Dakota. Doesn't mean there aren't some, but there's just not a ton of them. So I think it has to do with just, if you go look in the Northwest, there's just not a lot of FCS schools. It's like Division III. When I was at Christopher Newport at one point in time, that North Carolina, Virginia region was about as far south as you went where you could find a Division III school. A ton of the Division III schools were in Ohio, the Northeast, and there were some out west and a lot of Texas. Well, now there's some in Georgia, and there's a lot more Southeastern Division III schools, but there wasn't. So, like, you could go, a lot of schools were just going down to Florida just trying to find a ton of – that's what Mountain Union did a great job of. They'd go down to Florida and just get a bunch of kids from Florida because there's no Division III schools, right? So those kids had to find a place to go. Well, up in the Northwest, there's Eastern Washington and there's some schools like that, but there's just not a lot of them. So a lot of that FCS talent is compiled into a smaller number of schools, which is why those schools do so well. Whereas down in Florida in the Southeast, I mean, there are a ton of FCS schools in the Southeast, a ton. Virginia's got what? James Madison, Richmond, William and Mary. I mean, I'm just there's like 4 or 5 1AA schools in the state of Virginia alone, right? I'm trying to think of James Madison getting ready to move up, so they're not going to be soon. Old Dominion was, so they're not anymore. A lot of those are now moving up. There's a ton of Division I and 1AA schools in state of Virginia. Yet James Madison still consistently is a really good program. William and Mary was that way for a long time under Jimmy Laycock, where they were just good all the time. Never like national title good, but like just good for a long time. And so, Villanova had great teams for a long time under Andy Talley. So it just, to me, it just is about, you can be good anywhere, but you've got Georgia Southern was great for a long time. Remember, they had some great teams for quite a while. So I think that would be the reason why I think that's the case. I know I went like all over the place, but I think I kind of landed it there at the end, Vince, with just kind of the reach thing there. So I think we got C-Max says, Brian, someone from IB Facebook page said Charlie Strong's a DC candidate. Why has been a bad head coach and his defense has gotten rolled? So that's someone taking something that Tom Loy said and running to a Facebook message page saying they heard something when in reality they didn't hear anything. They just read what Tom Loy said. I don't think Charlie Strong's a candidate to be the D coordinator. I think that this isn't a shot at Tom. This is just, there's a lot of things. This is why I said yesterday, there's a reason I'm not throwing names out there. And usually when there's like 9 or 10 names being thrown out, it's because it's either a distraction, it's agents trying to get, or even those coaches trying to get some attraction to their own name, even if they know they're not going to get hired there. Their name is out there again.
Right.
I would be shocked if they hired Charlie Strong as the D coordinator. Now, would I be interested in hiring Charlie Strong as sort of an aide to help with, because he's been a veteran? Probably not, because he's been a failure at his last 2 jobs. Right. I mean, a dramatic failure at South Florida. I mean, he was awful at South Florida. Wasn't very good at Texas. Good dude from everything I've heard. It's just like, I don't know if that's the guy that I would really say I want to learn to be a head coach from him.
Right.
Because let's just like, hey, Charlie, what did you do in this instance? Okay, cool. I'm going to do the exact opposite of that. Cool. Thank you. I mean,
thanks for that.
I mean, what are you going to learn from someone who's a failure as a head coach? Not failed for a year, but like he was terrible at South Florida, wasn't good at Texas. He won at Louisville. That's it. In a very short period of time. I don't think that does value. So I just think there's just kind of just people throwing names out because it's open and we've tried to avoid doing that. We give you names when we have a really legitimate reason to believe that. And I have honestly not heard of a single legitimate source of mine that has mentioned Charlie Strong in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, could that happen? I guess anything could happen right now, but that would surprise me a lot if that were the move. There's so many better candidates out there. Yeah. So many better candidates out there, including a couple on staff. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
It's not even, he hasn't even had good defenses in the last 2 schools he's been at. And
right.
when they won at Louisville, they had pretty good defense, but they won because they had Teddy Bridgewater quarterback. They had pretty good defenses, don't get me wrong. But it helped having Teddy Bridgewater as your quarterback last year when they beat Florida.
Yeah.
So
slightly.
That's it. That's it.
Is that for Supers?
Yeah. So I do love this. The SEC's 0-2, Army versus Missouri, UCF versus Florida. But remember, Alan, it's only because they didn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
That's exactly the only reason. The only reason that the SEC ever loses bowl games. So I'm told.
All right.
So I'm told.
JoJo, happy Christmas Eve to my IB family and Brian and Vince. Happy Christmas to you as well, JoJo. How would you feel with Rhett in the class if we add Gray and Muhammad with Bowen and Down?
Oh my God, that'd be a phenomenal DB class.
Say, you just picked off a bunch
of
top
guys.
How would I
feel? Let's see. 3 top 100 quarterbacks and 2 top 100 safeties. Yeah, he's talking about Malik Muhammad, who is a cornerback from Texas. Christian Gray, cornerback from Missouri. Peyton Bowen's a safety from Texas. And Caleb Downs is a safety from Georgia. I actually think 2 of those 4 they're going to get sooner rather than later. I think Notre Dame is in a really good position right now with Christian Gray and Peyton Bowen. Downs and Muhammad is going to be a lot tougher. They're in a better position right now with Downs than they are Muhammad, but Muhammad is a special cover player. And they're still trying, even though he put a top 12 out with Notre Dame wasn't in it, they're still recruiting him. They're still on him. He still listens. They have a small shot, but they're still in the as long as he listens, they're in the game.
Yeah.
Caleb Downs is going to be tough to pull out of the Southeast, but they're efforting, and he's made, I think, 2 trips to South Bend, at least 2, maybe 3 trips to South Bend, including to watch his brother Josh Downs at North Carolina play. He was here for that game. So yeah, I think he realized in that game, boy, they really need safeties, so they can really use me because the safeties did not play well that game. But I mean, I'd be thrilled with that JoJo. I'd be shocked if that happened.
Another JoJo recruiting question I'll throw up here. Could Nicholas Harbor be our Sonny Styles in terms of unicorn talents? What do you guys think?
I honestly don't know who that is. To be honest with you, I have no clue who that is. Never heard that name before. So I'll look that up, Nicholas or JoJo, but I've never heard of that one before. So
Trip Bergen. I know you guys touched on Mac Markway earlier this week, but what do you think our chances are of getting him and Christian Gray too? I play with them both, and I know they're both really high on Notre Dame.
I personally would not recruit Mac Markway. I think if Notre Dame pushed for him, they would have a great chance of getting him. I just don't see the value in adding him as your second tight end when you already have a sort of blocking tight end already in the class in Cooper Flanagan, and who I think is better than Mac Markway. I know Mac has a great rating, and I think he's a heck of a high school tight end. My thing is just the projection is not great for what I think Notre Dame wants and needs a tight end, because he already kind of does what – I mean, he is from the same school of what Mitchell Evans is kind of going to be, and Kevin Bauman to a degree, and Brock Wright and Cooper Flanagan. So I personally want to see more of a different complementary tight end than just another version of Cooper Flanagan. And the other problem I have is Mac is a pretty big, strong kid now. I worry about how much his game is going to improve at the next level. Those are my legitimate concerns. And, but again, good football player, just to me, not a guy that I think would fit for that number 2 tight end. Christian Gray, I think, is a really good player. I think he's very underrated. And, as I watch this film, the guy that I just keep thinking about over and over again is Julian Love. Just maybe not like the burner. I think he's faster than Julian was in high school, though. But just so smooth that maybe he masks just how fast he is a little bit. Really great coverage instincts, can play man, can play off. Really physical kid, even though he's kind of skinny. Vince, I don't know if you've seen Christian Gray's highlights, but even though he's kind of skinny, he will stick. I think something that we've noticed a lot about the last 2 years is Notre Dame recruits a lot of corners that can hit and tackle. And I don't think that's by accident.
Mm-hmm.
But he can cover too. I like Christian Gray a lot, and I think that Notre Dame's in a really, really strong position there with him. But that would be a real big one.
John says, Merry Christmas, IB. Dirksen, Carell, Baker, Carmody, and Carroll have all been in the program 3 or more years. If Harry Hiestand is the coach, who would it benefit the most? Who can make a late jump?
I think for me, it's a little late for Dirksen because he's going to be a 5th-year senior. I just don't know if they're going to be able to bring him back because they're over 90 right now as far as guys that have eligibility left. I have heard that there's interest in bringing Josh Lugg back. If you bring Josh Lugg back, you can't bring back John Dirksen. And I think that's a guy that would benefit from Harry Hiestand. But I honestly think they need to move on from Josh, who I like a lot as a kid and like a lot as a player. But it's time to move on to the younger players, in my opinion. Of that group right there, the guy that I think would benefit the most would be Tosh Baker. So
yes, I agree with that as well. I don't think he's been coached very well. And I think that his ceiling is so high, and I would hate. I mean, if it happens, it happens. I mean, I think if he's not on the field, then they're not doing something right. I'll just say that. So I think that he can definitely benefit from the coaching change.
I guess I'll somewhat disagree with that, just because I think he's behind the 8 ball, and the fact that he wasn't coached has allowed Joe Alt and Blake Fisher to pass him.
Sure,
and they're pretty flipping good too.
Oh, no question.
But I think Tosh would probably be my pick for that one. I think because The reason I say that is because I think Zeke Correll's biggest need is more from Matt Balis. I think that's where his biggest gains are going to be. Quinn Carroll, I just don't know enough about Quinn's injury, and we haven't just seen enough from him. But I think he could obviously benefit. But I think Carmody's the other one, because I think Carmody's just a bull in a china shop, and I think he's a guy that has the mentality that Harry Hiestand really likes, that toughness, that aggressiveness, that I'm just going to come off and fight you, in an alley kind of thing. And I think he just needs to be harnessed and taught how to play the game. So I think Michael Carmody's another one that I think would benefit a lot. But I think Tosh of that list, Tosh would be the one that I think could benefit the most from that.
Mike Sullivan, if Harry Hiestand is a bad recruiter, then he has to be the greatest coach ever. People are killing me with the shade they are throwing at him. His finished product says it all.
I would just encourage you, Mike, if there are people throwing shade at Harry Hiestand and saying he's not this or not that, just find new channels to get your Notre Dame news or your Notre Dame discussion from. I can assure you that at the Irish Breakdown message board, the vast majority of people are very excited about it. But the people that have questions about Coach Hiestand are raising legitimate football questions that we're discussing. There are legitimate questions that people can bring. Hey, look, he hasn't coached college football in 4 years. Is the game changed enough to where it could impact him? Is he still a big name? There's a lot of legitimate questions that people have, and we discuss them. And we don't buy into the whole, we don't discuss the tired, like just the cliche things. Oh, he wasn't a good recruiter. Well, okay, we have to. I'm not going to get into that again. I'll have something later up that's going to show that. If anyone thinks he was a bad recruiter, they're either
listen to yesterday's show, because we talked about it a lot.
They're either just not aware of the reality, or saying things just to say stupid things, or they've bought into a narrative that was created to pump up the current coach,
right,
as opposed to actually being based in reality, which I despise when people do that. Like, this guy can be great and that guy can be great. We don't have to tear down this guy who produced more first-round NFL draft picks than any other offense, anybody else in college football, and constantly had top 2 to 3 recruiting classes when it came to offensive linemen. I mean, anyone that's going to say that just doesn't know what they're talking about. And that's why Irish Breakdown is so huge, because we is where you need to be, Mike. Don't waste your time. Actually, what I'm like, one of my New Year's Eve resolutions is going to be, I just don't want to talk about other sites anymore. And I know, and I got a lot of my bitterness out this past several months, because I'm really frustrated with the fact that some people tried to come at us and try to destroy Irish Breakdown and hurt our business because we didn't jump on board to their silly narratives. And now they're all kind of come around to things we've been saying for months. But you know what? We've grown so much the last year, Vince, and then I'm just like, let's just do what we do. Yep. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure why you're laughing at that right now.
I think it's great, because I think people are petty and selfish, and
but you know what? I don't want to give space to that anymore, is what I want to do. And I would encourage all of you, if you're hearing stuff like that, just hang out at our place.
Yep.
And ask us what we think, and we'll give you the good, we'll give you the bad, we'll give you the things we're concerned about.
Yeah, we'll give honesty.
And we'll do all that. And then you can ask questions if you have, hey, what I don't think it's a good hire, because Mike S yesterday is a great example. Michael S came on the question, and he had legit concerns and just didn't like the hire from Harry Hiestand. He asked us the question. We had a reasonable discussion about it, and he was and hey, look, appreciate the feedback, right? And yeah. That's the kind of thing that we do. So you know what? If you don't want to hear those stupid, silly things, and avoid them and hang out at our place.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about it. And that's going to be my New Year's resolution, Vince. Just so you know, I was going to bring it up to you closer to New Year, but we can just start it now. Like, I don't really care about. I mean, look, if you want to say, hey, Tim Priester said this, and hey, Tim Priester wrote an article about this, let's address it. That's cool. That's different. I'm told, hey, Tom Loy said this about this recruit. What I'm saying is, like, some of those sites that I've been throwing a lot of shade at lately, rightfully so. I'm ready to move on from those people, because that's where they're going to be. They're behind us now. I ain't going to worry about them anymore.
Yep.
Alabama doesn't worry about Vanderbilt anymore, so we're not going to worry about them either.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, Jacob Kraft, my guy Jake. He said, I've heard you guys hint about it before, but is Notre Dame falling behind Ohio State for Carnell Tate? If so, why?
Why? Because there isn't a program in the country the last few years other than maybe Bama that's done a better job. Well, Bama and Ohio State are the two cream of the crop at producing top receivers. not just high draft picks, but just guys that are great college players. They've also done a great job of being able to get more than one or two guys going in a single season. And I think that's an important part of this as well is being able to develop that sort of program where, man, I go there, I know I'm going to be successful because every kid goes there that's successful, right? Notre Dame hasn't done that. I think also Ohio State's kind of a flashy program, and Carnell seems to be a guy that kind of likes that, which is fine. I mean, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the other part of it too is just I think Ohio State's outworked Notre Dame for him. And that's part of it too. I think that Ohio State's ahead of Notre Dame right now for Carnell, but I also think that Carnell Tate is someone who is a master at playing this game. And I don't think it's like 1 minute people, look at his Twitter feed. It's all pro Notre Dame. Oh, now it's all pro Ohio State. Oh, wow. All of a sudden he's talking about Tennessee. Carnell is a master at this. And so I just try not to get too worked up about that. And we'll find out after the season. If Notre Dame has the same position coach, then I'll have less optimism that they're going to get him. If they have a new position coach, then I'll be more optimistic they're going to get him. But Ohio State is, Brian Hartline's done a great job recruiting, and he's done an even better job developing. And that's at the end of the day why Ohio State tends to beat Notre Dame for a lot of those kids at that particular position.
Yep. Could not agree more. Brian Hockney says, how do you think they will address the numbers at safety?
I don't think numbers are really the issue right now. I mean, even with Kerry G and Litchfield Agevon gone, next year you've got Houston Griffith can come back, DJ Brown can come back. You've got Xavier Watts, you've got Ramon Henderson, you've got KJ Wallace, you've got Justin Walters. That's 6 safeties for 2 spots. Plus you have Jaden Bellamy, I think is ultimately going to be a safety. If you get to a numbers I think the issue is how many of those guys do you think are ready to play for you right now at a high level? I don't think numbers are so much the issue. I think numbers is why those guys left. I think the fact that Ramon Henderson and Xavier Watts moved to safety is part of the reason that those guys are like, hey, I'm not going to play here. Those guys are basically the same grade as me.
Even start at my position at the beginning of the year.
Right. Yeah. Now, if they get to the point, Brian, however, let's address the question. If they get to a point where where the numbers are an issue, number one, my understanding is they at least have their eyes open on the transfer portal for players that position. Although it's not like gotta have them. It's if the right level of impact player comes along, we're going to look at them because there is a need potentially. I don't think numbers are the problem. I think they need to address. You need to get more playmakers there. Now, maybe Ramon and Xavier can be that. I think they can be. But that's more the issue. And then, of course, looking forward to 2023, I think I think the staff would be willing to take 2 safeties and potentially a third guy that could be a corner safety type of player, or Ryan Yates. And I don't think they're going to get Ryan Yates, but that kind of player, he's a corner, can play some safety, that kind of hybrid player. I think that would be it. And then, of course, they're going to keep recruiting corners because the other part of it, too, is if you land 3 stud corners in this 2023 class, so earlier we had the question from was a JoJo if they Justin Rhett, Christian Gray, and Malik Muhammad, right? That'd be an elite corner class. Well, then all of a sudden you can say, okay, well now we feel better about moving Philip Riley to safety or Chance Tucker or somebody. I don't want to start just naming too many names because then people are like, oh, he said so and so is going to move. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what they could feel comfortable with. And if more of the younger corners emerge, if Ryan Barnes has a great offseason, if Philip Riley has a great offseason, if Chance Tucker or Benjamin Morrison or Jaden Mickey or hopefully 2 to 3 of those guys really have great off seasons, then you could consider saying, hey, look, maybe let's move Clarence Lewis to safety, which they had thought about before. Yeah, now, that was before they removed Ramon and Xavier over there.
Right.
So I think that's kind of on hold right now. But if those young corners step up, then you could do that. So there's a lot of options, Brian, that Notre Dame can turn to. I don't think right now they're in a hurry to move anyone there because it's like, hey, we got numbers. Let's see who steps up and who performs. I think that'll influence, okay, do we need to keep these guys a corner because we're not as sold on corner? Do we need to move some of these guys to safety because we're not sold on safety and we love our depth at corner? I think those things will get shaken out over the spring. And, of course, we need to find out who stays.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a question mark.
There's going to be some kids that leave after the bowl game. They have to. Notre Dame's over 90 scholarships right now. That includes 6-year guys. Includes Drew White and Josh Lugg. So I mean, a couple of those guys will probably take care of themselves, but fifth-year guys. But they're going to need to lose at least 8 more guys from the roster right now to get down to 85, and that doesn't include the fact that they want to go out and get some guys in the transfer portal and the recruiting class. So some guys are going to have to leave, but what positions? That's going to be a question mark.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go grab this new super chat from Bronx ND fan because it's fantastic. Bronx ND fan, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, happy holidays to the IB fam. Thank you for teaching my wife offensive line concepts and technique. She watches games now screaming, punch, stop catching, use leverage. Makes my friends very jealous.
That is awesome.
I think that's
so
great.
That is absolutely awesome. Love it.
That's
love it. I'd be like, I love you so much right now. That'd be so awesome. That'd be so awesome.
That's great.
That'd be so awesome. Got a couple more super chats, Vince, I want to get to while you look for the next ones. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Corey D, thank you so much for the super chat. I know it's premature, but if Foskey returns along with the wide receivers, are we a national championship caliber team next year, in your opinion?
If Tyler Buchner makes good progress from year 1 to year 2, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's ultimately going to be what determines it. I mean, if Foskey comes back and Jason Adamiola comes back, and let's just say Kevin Austin comes back and they don't lose any of the guys they want to transfer, they are a playoff caliber team starting the season, in my opinion. The question then becomes, are they a championship caliber team? That's going to depend on what Tyler Buchner becomes during the season. And are they able to limit it to 1 loss in the first 7-8 games while he learns? Because what could happen is kind of like what we saw at USC in 2016. USC starts the season 1-3 because they started the season with Max Brown at quarterback against Bama, got slaughtered. Eventually went to Sam Darnold. They started the season 1-3. They were not good. Yeah. But by the time Sam Darnold, as a redshirt freshman, figured it out, USC in November was as good as anybody in the country. I mean, they were awesome in November. But it was too late. They'd already lost 3 games. I mean, they still finished in a 12-team playoff. That USC team that went 1-3, including I think all 3 losses by double digits, would have been a playoff team, and they would have done damage, in my opinion. But they lost 3 games in September. As long as Notre Dame can avoid that, if you lose to Ohio State, fine, but just keep winning until Tyler figures it out. They'll be a playoff team, in my view, because they'll have a win over Texas or Clemson. They'll have a win over North Carolina. They'll have a win over USC. They'll have enough wins to be in the playoff team despite losing the first game of the year. I mean, they were the number 1 team in the country not losing in the title game away from being in the playoffs this year, despite losing a game in October.
Right.
So, yeah, I think as long as they can avoid those early season upsets while Tyler figures things out, which I think they will, then I think that they're a championship team if he continues to develop. That's my thoughts on that one. Vince, what is your thoughts on that?
No, I think if they get the right guys back, Notre Dame has a very, very good chance. Because look, not only will they have the personnel to do it, but the schedule, in theory, during the preseason right now, Notre Dame's schedule stacks up against anybody's in the country. And so if they do damage to that schedule, then you're not going to hear, oh, their schedule stinks, they need to be in a conference. You're not going to hear. I mean, you'll hear it, but their schedule will stack up with anybody. Mm-hmm. Because you'll have Ohio State, you'll have Clemson, you'll have USC, who I think will be improved, right? I mean, North Carolina, you're going to have a good
BYU
schedule. So, if you can do damage to that schedule, then I think that they're going to have a great shot at the playoff. Yeah. An 11-1 Notre Dame team, I think, will have a great shot at getting in, depending on where that loss comes and what it looks like, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the only year a 1-loss Notre Dame team doesn't get in my opinion, besides this year, I think the only other time would have been if they would have beaten Michigan in 2019. I still don't think they get in because they had no good wins. Yeah. It was a lot like this year. To Vince's point, that'd be the difference in a 1-loss team next year. Is again, who did Notre Dame beat this year?
Exactly.
We all think that they were one of the 4 best teams, but you have to have the resume to support it.
Yep. And that's why we weren't pushing at the end, like Notre Dame's.
We wanted them in. We wanted them in because we thought they were the 4 best teams. But they shouldn't have been in over
right.
I think they're a better team than a one-loss Georgia, but they don't have a better resume than a one-loss Georgia.
Exactly. And so, I mean, it's
right. But next year, if they lose early to Ohio State, or if they beat Ohio State early and then lose to Clemson late, either way, I think they still have a playoff resume.
They have a great resume.
If they beat Ohio State in the Open, they're not losing to Clemson. If they lose a game during the season, it'll be some BYU or some game where they're overlooking somebody. It'll be something like that.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, I want to see obviously who comes back first.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with you. I think personnel wise, they're going to be in great shape. But then they also have the schedule to back it up, which I think is big for this year.
Right.
Jordan with the super chat. Thank you very much, Jordan. He says, can you break down the 22 linebacker recruits, Ohio State versus Notre Dame, 2 best linebacker classes in the nation? Actually, that's his question. Are they?
Well, and then obviously we have to remember that Ohio State's linebacker class now includes Sonny Styles. Right, my issue with how Sonny Styles was ranked is I think Sonny Styles is an incredible talent. I'm not going to sit there and say because he's Ohio State now he's not as good. I don't think he was I was okay with him being ranked as a top 15 player as a junior because a lot of juniors still have development left in their game. I think jumping him up a class, they just kept him where he was ranked. He was he's not the 8th best player in that class.
In this class, yeah.
Because his game still needs a lot of work. Just like if you jump Drake Bowen up to the 2023 class, I wouldn't have him ranked as high. The only kid that I would have ranked as high now, the only kid that I've seen from Notre Dame or really anybody from the 23 class that I would put in 22 and keep them as high of the guys I've seen, now there's some guys I haven't seen, is Dante Moore and Keon Keeley, just because they're so dynamic and their games are so, especially Dante Moore's game is so advanced. But then you could counter with, but he's still just 16 years old and his body needs to develop and all that.
Yep.
So you look at that class, CJ Hicks is really good. I think Jalen Sneed and Josh Burnham are, to me, as good of a 1-2 punch as Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks. Just my opinion. The difference for me is Gabe Powers is a very highly ranked player. So if you're going to look at it from a recruiting ranking standpoint, then Ohio State has a better class. As you know, Jordan, I don't give a crap about that. I care about what the film shows me. Gabe Powers is a good player. I think he should be ranked closer to where, Junior Tuilamoke and Nolan Ziegler are ranked. So I think it's kind of a wash for the top 3 to me. The difference is numbers. Notre Dame has 4, Ohio State has 3, and then Nolan Ziegler is, to me, the difference for me. Nolan Ziegler is incredibly underrated. If you could say, hey, Brian, would you trade Nolan Ziegler for Gabe Powers? I'd say heck to the no. I would not. I think this is a great 4-man class. If you're going to sit there and tell me Ohio State's is better, I'm not going to argue with you. It's a heck of a linebacker class. And to your point, Jordan, those are the 2 best linebacker classes in the country, hands down. Bama's got a good one, but it's not as good as the Notre Dame one. It's not as good as the Ohio State one. I like CJ Hicks a lot. I like Sonny Styles a lot. Gabe Powers is a good, solid football player. I like Notre Dame's class better. And I don't know if Gabe Powers is going to be able to stay at linebacker. That's the other thing. I think he's going to eventually have to kind of be an edge player. He's 6'4", 230. I don't think he's an elite athlete. I think he's more of a guy that's going to grow into an edge player, in my opinion. So then you talk about potentially 2 guys compared to 4 guys. And that's to me where I think Notre Dame has the edge. But if you were going to tell me the opposite, I wouldn't argue with you. Ohio State also has a great linebacker class.
Do we have any more super chats down there? I've got questions. If not, okay. Q Kibbs, Merry Christmas, guys. Sharing my paycheck with y'all. Thank you, Q Kibbs. Appreciate that very, very much. What is your favorite toy you got as a kid? Mine was a toy pirate ship. Mine's easy. It was the original Nintendo.
Okay.
That was the gift that kept on giving for many, many years for me and my friends. And we had one of those old school, projection big screen TVs in my basement. So we were playing Nintendo on the big screen and I played college football's national championship over and over. Loved that particular thing. So that's by far my favorite.
Mine are 2. Number 1, the biggest surprise that I got excited about is my parents bought me and my sister bikes. Mine was just really bright green with dark gray. It was one of the really cool fluorescent kind. It was really awesome looking bike. but I was pretty good at finding presents, and I don't like being surprised. So I wanted to know what I was getting.
You're just like my wife, man.
Yeah, and so I was pretty good at finding presents, and like that's how I found. It's like I was very nosy as a kid, so that's how I found out there's no Santa Claus. I found a shoebox with all my mom had kept all my letters that I sent Santa Claus. And Vince, I'll have to tell you how I reacted to that one of these days. I'm not sharing that in a show. But I just like knowing what I was going to get. And so I wanted a bike really bad. It was like a dirt bike, and I wanted it really bad. And I looked over the house and I couldn't find it. And so I went to bed. Being the bratty, spoiled kid that I was, because my parents worked their butts off to make sure that my sister and I never went without. And they would go without to make sure we didn't. Yep. And I was kind of a spoiled brat. And I didn't get the bike that I wanted, and woke up the next morning. I don't know where my parents hid it, but overnight my dad assembled the bike, and it was outside waiting on us, and I was just ecstatic. The other one was when I got the Castle Grayskull.
Oh, I had that.
Yes, because I was big into the He-Man action figures, and I was young. And when I got Castle Grayskull, man, I was fired up.
That thing was awesome, by the way. That thing was. I had the big, like long, like dinosaur skeleton thing that you could like attach all the people to, you know, and you could that was
that I remember being really excited about that. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I love that. And I had the evil guy's place too. Skeletor's thing. I had his.
I didn't have that. I didn't own any of the bad Transformers. Oh, I remember when I got Optimus Prime when I was a kid too. I was pretty fired up about that. I just don't remember if that was my birthday or if that was Christmas.
Right.
I can't remember. I was like into I only got stuff of the good dudes. My cousin got a lot of. He had Skeletor in his place.
So then they come over and you battle it out.
Right. Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Very, very good stuff. I love that. Let's see. We've got a couple here I want to get to. Kenny Moore says, "Merry Christmas, Brian and Vince." To you as well, Kenny. Which unit do you think has the best chance of imposing its will during the bowl? Notre Dame's offense or Oklahoma State's defense?
Who do you think has the best chance? I would say it's Notre Dame's offense, but I'm not like locked into it, Kenny.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I am nervous about the matchup of Notre Dame's offensive line against Oklahoma State's defense.
That's the biggest matchup to talk about.
The reason that I say who has the best chance of imposing their will, I still go Notre Dame, because I think at the end of the day, if Notre Dame's offensive line just is solid, Notre Dame wins this game, because I just think Notre Dame's got better players.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, the team that has the best chance to impose their will is the team with better players. And I think Notre Dame has better players. Now, that doesn't mean that Oklahoma State can't whoop Notre Dame's offense. They're more than capable of that.
Right.
It's just that if Notre Dame plays their game, I don't know that there's a lot that Oklahoma State can do to stop them. And I can't say that I'm on the other side of the ball. Like, if Notre Dame's defense gives up a lot of points to Oklahoma State, it's because they just don't play well. Oklahoma State doesn't have the talent to just, if they play well, they're just going to go out and score a lot of points. Spencer Sanders isn't Sam Howell. He doesn't have the receivers. There's no Josh Downs. It's a good receiving core, good back, good line, dangerous quarterback. It reminds me a lot of Desmond Ridder, but not quite as good of a passer. And we saw what Desmond Ridder did against Notre Dame. He made the plays. We had a lot of the same question marks about Desmond Ridder that we have about Spencer Sanders, although I still say Desmond Ridder's a better passer than Spencer Sanders, but he stepped up and made winning plays in the game. So I said best chance Notre Dame, but I'm not like feeling great about that, because there's a lot of unknowns about how Notre Dame's going to play, and especially going to play up front. And to me, that's going to be the thing that determines this whole thing is that part of it.
John A1 says Braden Lindsey has really played well the last few games this season. If the underclassmen wide receivers all stay, would he be more of a need than Austin? No.
It's a good question, John.
It is a really good question, because he has been a big part of the offense.
One thing I think Braden does is Braden brings an element that really nobody else has.
Yeah.
But to me, Kevin Austin, if he returns and has continued to coach well, has number one just dude tools. I mean, just dominant, take a game over, 9 catches, 140 yards.
Yeah.
and to me, to win a championship, it's harder to take a Kevin Austin out of the game than it is a Braden Lindsey out of the game.
Sure.
And Braden Lindsey is also a lower volume guy from a snap standpoint. So he's on the field less, which means now when Braden Lindsey's on the field, you got to account for him. You just do. When he's not on the field, though, or you know what I mean? Whereas Kevin Austin can stay on the field a lot more. That's part of it too. So just there's really no way that I'd say otherwise. Plus, I think with Lorenzo Styles, if Avery Davis comes back, which we expect him to, and he's healthy with the running backs, you have enough guys can do stuff after the catch that I think that what you don't have is that Kevin Austin kind of guy. Now, if Kevin Austin leaves, do I think Notre Dame can still have a really good receiving core next year? Absolutely. Because, that's okay. Go coach up Deion Colsey.
Sure.
Go coach up Tobias Merriweather. You know what I mean? But that to me would hurt a little bit more than Braden Lindsey. Got a couple super chats down here, Vince.
Yes, we do. Jesse Ferguson, thank you very much for the super chat. When Notre Dame faces Ohio State in the Horseshoe next September, will the Irish be facing the best backfield in the nation, or is it too early to tell? The running backs, or like including the quarterback?
Backfield would include quarterback as well.
Okay.
Running, but I mean, either one, they're in the conversation. The reason I'm not going to say yes, definitely, Jesse, because I just need to look at who people have coming back. Like, Alabama getting Jahmyr Gibbs with Bryce Young and some of the guys they have coming back. It's a pretty good one. But C.J. Stroud and TreVeyon Henderson is a pretty dynamic 1-2 punch. And I think Henderson's going to take an even bigger jump next year because he's going to be he's a true freshman this year.
He's a true freshman, yeah.
Now, so they're in. I'll say this, they're absolutely in that conversation. The only reason I'm hesitant to say absolutely is just because I need to go look, and I just would have to kind of
out there,
go through it. But off the top of my head, I'm having a hard time thinking of who would be better. Alabama, again, I don't think they're they have a lot. Alabama has better depth at running back than Ohio State. None of their backs, even with Jahmyr Gibbs, are as good as TreVeyon Henderson. That would be my thing. Now, I think that Bryce Young is better than C.J. Stroud. So how does that balance? So I think Alabama you can make a case for because of their depth. As far as this 1-2 punch, I think Henderson is special. And although I don't think C.J. Stroud is special, I think he's a product of a system, and he didn't necessarily play in great in big games. Although, again, he was a redshirt freshman who threw zero passes the year before. He's going to get better. I think that – and I think Quinn Ewers being gone is going to be good for C.J. Stroud as well because you don't have that circus behind you, where every time you throw an incomplete pass, everyone's calling for the mullet, just hard pass.
It's back where he belongs.
So I think that should help him. And so that it's Bama or Ohio State would be the duo for me off the top of my head. Now, obviously, I reserve the right to change my opinion when we get into the offseason and I'm able to study all the rosters and who's coming back, who's going out for the NFL, all that kind of stuff. But I think Bama and Ohio State are in that are who we would be debating if based on what I can think of right now.
Kevin with the super chat. Thanks, Kevin. Merry Christmas to you guys and all of IB Nation. Thanks for all the great and accurate information that you guys provide. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for Kevin. Absolutely. Really thanks for that very, very much.
RJG Irving, thank you so much for the super chat. Merry Christmas. Thanks for a great year. You guys are the best. Cheers.
Thanks
cheers
very
to
much,
you, sir. Yep. Cheers to you.
Absolutely.
Are we caught up down there?
Yep, we are.
Okay. I got one right here. Utah Irish 237. Merry Christmas, IB Nation. What are you all eating tonight? The Christmas Eve meal. My family tradition is, I'm going to butcher this. It's Bagna Kuda and the Feast of the Seven Fishes with buttered spaghetti and homemade tiramisu and cannoli. My guess is an Italian family.
Yes.
Amazing. Well done. That is quite the Christmas Eve meal. That's for sure. My house, we have baked mastacholi because that's an Italian tradition on our side of the family. So that is our Christmas Eve meal every year. And my mom had made it forever, and now we make it as well. So
I got to figure out what my wife wants me to make tonight. She hasn't decided yet whether she wants me to make spaghetti tonight or fettuccine Alfredo. So I'll make one of those two
That's
tonight.
Easy. That's easy.
And then on Christmas I make lasagna. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But, we used to do turkey, But
we have a big ham. We have our big glazed ham on Christmas.
I personally like repeating Thanksgiving on Christmas. That's just me. But my wife likes to mix it up, so we mix it up. So.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And another super chat here from Lucas Chapman.
Thanks,
Thank you
Lucas.
very much, Lucas. Very, very much. On paper, the game should be low scoring, but I think Notre Dame at this specific point in time is a very dangerous team. Notre Dame has far more to play for, in my opinion. Our players seem like they are starving to play for Freeman. I will agree with the Freeman part. They want to play for him, and they want to play well for him. I have no doubt about that in my mind. I don't know that Notre Dame has more to play for, though. I feel like Oklahoma State is very, very excited to be in the Fiesta Bowl. Like this is their thing. Like they are fired up to be in the Fiesta Bowl. So I don't want to say Notre Dame has more to play for because this is their playoff. Okay. And I realized they were an inch away from being in the college football playoff, but this is the closest they've ever been. And the Fiesta Bowl is not a bad consolation prize for them. And I feel like they've got a lot to play for.
I will say that. I think Notre Dame has more to play for because I think it's more than just it being a big game. I mean, this is a big game for Notre Dame. But it's like there's this – I don't say I have more to play for. Maybe a better way to say it might be Notre Dame has more pressure. Maybe that might be
I would agree with.
A way as opposed to more to play for. I would say that I do think Notre Dame has a little bit more at stake, which means more to play for me, which also increases the pressure. So I would say that they have more to play for, but I don't think this is a situation where it's like, oh, Oklahoma State doesn't really want to be there. This is Oklahoma State, not Alabama or Georgia. They want to be there and they want to win this game. So that part's going to be really, really interesting in my opinion to see how that plays out. But I think both teams have a lot to play for. I would say the new coach aspect of it does for me gives Notre Dame the edge. And then Noel Grimm with another super chat. He's having ham and prime rib tonight. That sounds
amazing.
That sounds pretty good. And
it's making me hungry is what it's doing.
Dynasty ISP. I heard Bayou Brian has the classic crawdads. That man has never eaten crawdads a day in his life, but he's going to be having some at Christmas.
Dude, he's probably having Christmas in South Bend. Let's all be real clear on that.
Yeah,
that's another conversation.
Yep.
Okay. John A1, which position group will be the most competitive this spring?
Ooh.
I think that's a really good question.
I think it's going to be the offensive line on offense and cornerback on defense. That's what I think. Or no, I'm sorry, safety on defense. Because I think basically safety is going to be open starting positions, and there's some young guys challenging and some vets that don't want to give in the job. Offensive line-wise, when Harry Easton shows up, assuming that's the direction that they go, there are no returning starters except for Jarrett Patterson. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, oh, every job's open. Jarrett Patterson's starting next year. Now, whether that's going to be at center or somewhere else, I don't know. I think that'd probably be part of the conversation about getting Jarrett back is, okay, Jarrett, do you want to still play center or do you want to move somewhere else? And if that's contingent upon you coming back, then we'll honor that. But I think offensive line is going to be very competitive for two reasons. Number one, jobs are open. Number two, I'm like number one, jobs are going to be open, I think. And number two, I think it's a very talented group of young players are going to be battling. And you're going to have the current freshman class going up to sophomores. I think Tosh Baker and Michael Carmody, what kind of growth do they make to battle for starting jobs? The veterans, Zeke Correll and Kristofic and Quinn Carroll are not going to go down without a fight. Do they bring John Dirksen back? There's going to be at least three of the freshmen are going to be early enrollees, at least three of them. Let me pull up my sheet here real quick that has, I think, maybe four of them. Four of them might even be early enrollees. I got to try to find my list of early enrollees here. Vince, by the way, I got to send you game predictions tonight because I have forgot to send those out.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, okay. So Joey Tonone and Billy Schrouth, those two are the two highest ranked, in my opinion, Notre Dame offensive linemen are both going to be early enrollees. So there's going to be a lot of competition on the offensive line this spring, in my opinion. I think those are my two.
I'll agree with offensive line. I almost went wide receiver because I still think that there's a lot of young guys, and I think there's going to be, depending on who comes back, I think there could be a lot of competition over there, especially if there's a new head coach. But I do think offensive line is probably more competitive because we know there's going to be a new coach.
Yeah.
And when there's a new coach, It makes a difference when you're talking about competition for spots. On defense, I'll go corner because I think these young guys are chomping at the bit to compete. And I think they're going to have some opportunities to compete. I love this cornerback group. And frankly, I said this before on an earlier pod. I think that they, Notre Dame missed the boat a little bit, not getting these guys on the field a little bit more. And so I think this is going to be a great opportunity in the spring to see what those guys can do. I hope they get a shot at getting on the field. So
the reason I wouldn't go receiver, Vince, is because I think there'll be a lot of competition, but they're still all going to play. I guess that's where because does Braden Lindsey start or is it Lorenzo Styles? Okay, fine, but they're both going to play.
Right.
And the fact that Tobias Merriweather is not going to be on campus in the spring too, kind of, like Kevin Austin's going to start at W. It's not like Deion Colsey's going to be able to beat him out, right away. Now, could you maybe Deion step up and play so good that you got to play him, and then maybe move Kevin to X? There could be some of that, but they're all going to play. Yeah. Deion's going to play whether he's starting or not. Kevin's going to play whether he's at W or X. Braden's going to play, so they're all going to play. Whereas offensive line, at most, you're not going to rotate 8, 9, 10 offensive linemen. You may rotate one spot, but when you got your starters, you got your starters. And for me, that adds some ferocity to that battle.
Sure, because either you're starting or you're not playing. I mean, that's the difference. Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Right. Zach Nichols has a good one here. He says, you've mentioned in the past that Tommy Rees and Harry Hiestand are likely aligned in their ideas for the offense. Does Coach Hiestand decide blocking schemes, or is this coordinated with Rees? How will scheme change from Quinn?
So the scheme change is decided by they're going to run inside zone, and the inside zone is what it is. Harry Hiestand will decide how they block it, right? And that's how it always happens with a good offensive line coach is say, hey, look, we want to run inside zone. Here are the looks. Here's how we're going to run it. Here's where they're vulnerable, and you kind of design. Here's how I like it, and then it's up to Tommy Rees to kind of figure out how to build the personnel groupings around it. Because Harry Hiestand's going to be like, hey, you need to go 12 personnel, and that's not what Harry Hiestand's going to do. He's going to this is how we're going to block inside zone. You tell me how many guys I have part of my formation, and then this is how we're going to block it. This is how we're going to block it with a tight end. Here's we're going to block it with 2 tight ends. Here's we're going to block it with no tight ends.
Right.
And then you decide how you want to call it. So he's going to decide the blocking schemes, but it's not like he says, hey, this week we're going to put in a G scheme, and Tommy Rees is like, well, we don't have that in their offense. Harry's like, well, we're going to do it anyway. That's not how it works. What I'm saying is they know the offense. Harry's going to say, hey, here's what I think is going to work in the run game this week. Here's how we're going to block this. And then it's up to Tommy Rees to build a game plan around that. That's how it always works with a good offensive line coach, as far as I know. And sometimes a coordinator may say, hey, I want to try this, this, and this, and this, and this up the offensive coordinator say, okay, here's how, or the O-line coach say, hey, here's how we can make that work. But primarily it's going to be the offensive line coach. And that's how it should work. How will the scheme change from Quinn? I don't anticipate the scheme changing. They're pretty much running what they did when Harry Hiestand was here. They're an inside-outside zone team.
Right. That hasn't changed a whole lot.
Yeah, I would imagine that we might see the counters more effective. We might see the buck sweeps be more effective because really Notre Dame hasn't had a successful running game other than inside-outside zone since Harry left, if we're being honest. When Harry was here, if you go back and watch 2017, for example, the buck sweep concept was really effective.
Yeah.
And, will that come back or not? We'll have to find out, but I don't think the scheme is going to change a whole lot. I think, and honestly, that's not why I want Harry Hiestand to. The scheme wasn't why Jeff Quinn wasn't a successful line coach.
It's the fundamentals.
Exactly. Yeah. How they played the game.
The catching. It's the firing out. It's all of those things that we've talked about. Yeah.
Right? Fire off. Don't catch. Leverage.
Yes, that's right.
Love it.
That's so great.
Love it.
That's so great. We got 3 super chats down there, Brian, if you want to grab those.
I will grab those, yes.
Thank you from Mike Gardner. Merry Christmas, gents. Thank you for all you do in business and charity. To all my Notre Dame brethren concerned about Harry, he got us the title O-line U.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Like, Mike drop moment. Notre Dame is O-line U because of Harry Hiestand.
Yes, it's that simple. It really is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Thank you, Mike, very much for the super chat.
It's a great, I mean, just like, okay, yes. That's phenomenal.
What else can you say?
It's phenomenal.
Gus Webb with the super chat. Thank you very much, Gus. Late to the party, so you probably have already been asked this, but what are your guys' thoughts on Ian Book starting on Monday? The Saints are my second favorite team, so I'm very excited. Well, I hope he does great.
Somebody
put it in the chat. We just haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay.
I'm happy for him. Look, this is a great opportunity. I will
for him and for Notre Dame.
Right. And look, I still feel like he's probably a career backup, but guess what? Career backups got to play. I mean,
Right.
this is why you're a really good backup quarterback, because when it hits the fan and guys are in COVID protocol and they're injured or whatever, you can have faith in your backup guy to go out there and do your thing. So I hope he's successful. I do. I don't have any ill will towards Ian Book. I think it's great.
Right. My issues with Ian Book were never personal.
Never.
I just never thought he was that good of a player. I hope he kills it on Monday.
Me too.
I hope that Ian Book over the next few weeks proves me absolutely wrong, 100% wrong. Because here's why: number one, good for him. I mean, it's good for Ian.
Absolutely.
Number two, it's great for Notre Dame. If Ian Book is as good as Brian Kelly and Tommy Rees always said he was, and Sean Payton apparently thinks he is, according to what people say, whatever. It's great for Notre Dame, because the whole mantra of they can't produce quarterbacks, all of a sudden, hey, Dante Moore, look what Ian Book is doing.
Yeah, right.
And you got way more talent than him. You know what I mean? The whole narrative of Tommy Rees can't develop quarterbacks is gone if Ian Book becomes a successful NFL quarterback. I don't predict it's going to happen, but I hope it does.
Sure.
Can y'all understand something? With the exception of Brian Van Gorder, I have never wanted to be right when I say that someone's not good. I wished that Jeff Quinn was going to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I wish that Dell Alexander proved me wrong. I wish Ian Book would have proved me wrong. You know why? Because that's good for Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And not only I've never hidden the fact that I'm a Notre Dame fan. Always have been. Number
Absolutely.
two, when Notre Dame's good, that's good for business. So I'd literally have to be a self-hating masochist to not want to be wrong. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's like my arrogance and need to be right, and my narcissism would have to be so great that I would rather be right and lose business and be miserable, but at least I'm right.
At least you're right.
You know, that's silly. I hope that Ian Book proves me wrong, because that's great for Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Great for Notre Dame. I'm curious to see kind of what the game plan is, because New Orleans, from what I understand, just kind of following it, like just reading some things, it sounds like they're pretty banged up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it doesn't sound like he's going to necessarily have.
I don't think he's going to have a whole lot of weapons to help him.
At least a full complement. Yeah. I don't believe, but again, that's just an outsider's view. I don't really follow the NFL all that much.
Maybe we got one more down there.
We got two more.
Two more. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Burke, thank you so much for the super chat. Merry Christmas, gentlemen. Thank you for the amazing work throughout the year. God bless and safe travels to Arizona next week.
I got to think that amount he left in the super chats on purpose.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's left.
He's done that before.
And they've been 1988, which I love. Absolutely love. So hopefully he'll be giving us 2022s someday.
Yeah, no doubt.
John Nestler, thank you so much for the super chat, John. Merry Christmas, Brian and Vince, and to all of IB Nation. Don't have time to watch the show right now, but super chat for Christmas. Thanks, John. Really appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you as well, and to everybody in IB Nation. No question about it. So back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From our buddy Father David, Merry Christmas, everyone. Is it true that every time Brian drops coaching hire news on the message board that an angel gets its wings?
That is true.
And a Wonderful Life reference as well, Father David.
That is true.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Very much. John A1 says, I'm hoping guys like Patelho, MTA, and Mills have big games in the Fiesta Bowl so that Notre Dame wins and Foskey doesn't have more ammo to head to the draft.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I don't think these games necessarily have a huge impact, but it can be a thing where if a guy was already leaning towards leaving and he has a big game, he may make an emotional decision and leave. But I got another one of these. Brandon says, Brian, have you heard info on if Todd Orlando's consideration for the D position now that Grinch took over at SC? No, he's not. He's not. His defenses at USC sucked.
Yeah, seriously.
They just shredded that defense. No, he's not. And
I would not want him.
I mean, I feel like at this point in time, the longer they wait, every defensive coordinator that's not currently employed is going to have his name thrown out there. But Brandon, I'm not sure where you heard that or if you're just asking in general. But I that would be such a
agency to get their cut.
Bad, disappointing hire if Notre Dame went that direction.
Could not agree more.
We can go back to the top, Vince.
Utah Irish says, if Santa could bring one thing to Notre Dame football, what would you pick? One improvement. That's easy for me.
Go ahead, Vince.
Dante Moore, all wrapped up and underneath my Christmas tree.
I'm not answering that question because I always do a Christmas wish list every year at Irish Breakdown. So I'll have 10 things that I want for Christmas.
Okay.
From Santa Claus. So
I like that.
Yep. I'll give you a teaser. What Vince just said, it's going to be on the list.
Is that on the list?
It's going to be on the list. Yes.
That's great. That's the first thing that came to my mind. So, yeah.
It's like, that's like that special present at the end, like the Red Ryder BB gun, the one you hold until the end, the special one. Yeah, that'd be.
Because I'm going to have to number my wife's gifts so she opens them in the right order. Like there's a certain, it has to be that way, right?
Yeah, I'm doing that for Angela tomorrow, but it's more because I'm doing a thematic thing this year with her for one of the present things. And so it's like, if you get the one early on, it kind of gives away what all the other ones are. So,
it's got to be in order. I'm with you.
Yep.
Demetrius Rex, way too early for this, but can we give predictions on what Buckner's season stats will look like if he's the QB1 next year? Let a man dream. It's Christmas. I don't even know how I would touch that, to be honest with you.
I think for me, I'd probably just look for what I hope the minimums are. For me, I think for me, again, I would hope that he'd be around 3,000 yards passing.
Just wrote that down.
And at least 500 rushing yards. I don't think he's going to run for as much as people think next year.
I put 750.
I'm saying like if he can run for 900. I'm saying like if he's at 500, that's a pretty impactful running season.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because also there's going to be some sacks in there and some negative yards from sacks, which count towards rushing. So, if he's at 500 yards, he's most likely ran for 600-700 yards. Because I'm looking at like past years. Let's even look at Harry Easton. You lost 143 yards in sacks one year, 163, 159, 201, 63, 107. So you're going to lose some of this. So if he's at 500 yards rushing, he ran for at least 600 yards that year. And so way I look at it is that, about 3,500. If he's around there, give or take a few in the passing yards, I wouldn't want to lose too much from the rushing because I think that's something that makes him dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to make him better, obviously.
Because like Sam Howell, for example, this year ran for 826 yards and 11 touchdowns. I think maybe eventually Tyler could get to that, but I don't know if that's what he's going to be next year. But it wouldn't shock me if that was his rushing numbers. It's just more of what I'm saying is like if he's here and those are the minimums, that's a pretty good season. Anything beyond that's just a better and better season, in my opinion. And honestly, part of me wants to hope that he's a little bit around those numbers too, because most likely if he starts 13 games or 12 games in the regular season and he's less than those numbers, it means Notre Dame's just out whooping people.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, again, if he doesn't get hurt, it means that he's playing in this 2.5 quarters in a lot of games. But that's where I would be with those. That'd be my projection. Very early. And some of it's going to be like, more rushing early, more passing later, stuff like that.
Right.
It'll balance out at the end of the year.
Shannon says, Merry Christmas Eve, y'all. Curious your thoughts on Notre Dame's first TD at the Fiesta Bowl. Tyree, Mayer, special teams, or maybe a pick six. I believe it will be a bomb to Kevin Austin.
I could dig that.
I think it would be a bomb to Braden Lindsey.
Yeah, I think it'll be a deep shot. I think, or like a big pass. If it doesn't, see, here's the thing though, is it a deep shot that scores, or is it a deep shot that sets up a 2-yard Logan Diggs run, that kind of thing?
Right. Absolutely. But either way, if Notre Dame's scoring first, I'm a happy guy. So, preferably in the end zone closest to the press box.
I'll see it no matter where it's
at. I know you're going to be right. Yeah. I want a picture of your view. Anyway.
So I bought my dad ticket to the Fiesta Bowl in 2015.
Okay.
And it was just me and him that weekend. So, and we had a good time. This year I'm bringing my nephew, but I told my dad, I said, I want a picture of your seat. And so my dad took a picture of his seat.
Of the actual seat?
Of the seat and sent it to me. Like, why would I want a picture of your seat? He said, hey, you asked me to picture my seat. Okay, funny guy.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
Like, what am I looking at? Did he seriously just take a picture of his actual seat? Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
That's hilarious.
True story.
Oh, that's good stuff right there. I like that a lot. Connor, hey, coach, I was born in 2001, and my favorite player I've watched is Golden Tate. Besides Rocket, Ooh, took that right off the shelf for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who is another legendary and perhaps underrated receiver or running back that you have watched?
Receivers easy. Go watch clips of Derek Mays. Derek Mays was go watch the touchdown catch he had against Florida State in the Orange Bowl.
Derek
Was it
Mays.
95? Derek Mays was so good at Notre Dame. And could you imagine? And that's why I said, people talk about, could you imagine if Randy Moss and what that would have done for Ron Paul? What would it have done for Derek Mays?
Yeah, right.
Because that means he would have been like,
single
Randy
covered
Moss
all the
is taking
time.
all the attention. I got to,
Yeah.
who's covering Derek Mays? The answer would be nobody.
Derek
right?
Mays
I
is
mean,
a stud.
he was so
him.
good, and he just played in that he was unfortunately played in that downtime of loose tenure. He was there, I believe he was a freshman on the 93 team. When he became kind of the guy at Notre Dame is when they kind of were on the, the downswing of that time. He was actually a freshman in 92. And so his last 2 years, he caught 47 and 48 passes his last 2 years, which for Notre Dame then was a lot. 847 and 881 yards, 18 and 18.4 yards per catch, and they had 11 and 6 touchdowns. And that's really good production for a receiver during that time, but it was overshadowed because in 94, 95, they were like 6-5 and 1 in 94. They just weren't that good. And so it kind of overshadowed just how good he was. Derek Mays was a really good football player. Underrated running back. So running back, then I'm going to go with, obviously, I'm going to go with Derek Mays. But
no,
I think underrated running back, I think Anthony Johnson is one that I often think of because he was never had monster numbers, but he's a really good player on a team that was loaded at fullback and running back then.
Yeah.
A lot of people think of when we think of the 1988 team, who thinks of Mark Green?
Yeah. Right.
We think of Rocket and Ricky Waters and Tony Rice and, Tony Fisher coming off the bench. Well, Tony Fisher came off the bench because Mark Green was starting.
Right.
He's another underrated back of my
like that
generation. Yeah.
FD Joe, after watching the 2 Baylor games, they did not use much motion. Do you think motion could be effective against this specific defense to help QBs with pre-snap reads? Motion is always effective to help with pre-snap reads. I personally love motion and some formational shifts and things like that to see. I think that helps out young quarterbacks a lot with identifying defensive coverage.
Although Notre Dame won't be playing a young quarterback as a starter on next Saturday.
I shouldn't have said young quarterback. It helps all quarterbacks, but I think it really helps young quarterbacks.
It does with what you mentioned, which is the pre-snap reads and things like that. I think you have to balance motion with, do the positives we get from motion outweigh the fact that we're going at a slower tempo?
Sure.
And that's what you have to decide. Is the best way to attack Oklahoma State? Is it using motions and shifts to try to get them moving, or is it to go fast, get them lined up so we know exactly what's going to happen and we attack them? Or is it a combination of both? That'll be the decision that Notre Dame has to make. And I don't think there's necessarily wrong answer. It just depends on where they are in their development and where they think the strengths of those teams are. But I would prefer a bit of a combination of both. I like mixing up motions and shifts where sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. Just like tempo. I'm not a big fan of just going fast all the time, and I'm not a fan of going slow and methodical. I like mixing it up. I like keep the teams off balance.
Right.
And so that's my personal preference. And so in that regards, that's where I would be doing.
So I am now officially at where we started the show.
Okay.
And so I've got a lot of Merry Christmases. So I'm just going to kind of roll through them so we can get them all up from everybody as we get through to get to some more questions. And then people, you were talking about if you want to give another update about what we did with the Thanksgiving money.
Yes.
For people that weren't here, that's kind of where I'm at here in the comments.
Okay. As far as what people asking about it?
Well, yeah, just what we did with it, what you ended up doing with it, because we carried over to Christmas,
right?
For people that
didn't know. We did a lot of different things. We worked with some different charities on that. We worked with Hope Mission again. We did some things with Faith Mission. I'm trying to think. I've written down who we did. One other group. I'm trying to remember who it was. One other Christmas group we did. But the last things we did is we bought a Hope Mission is a homeless shelter in town. It's a faith-based homeless shelter in town.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought them about 130 pounds of hamburger last night, and Angela went and took advantage of a 40% off coal sale and bought about $2,000 worth of shirts, socks, and underwear, boxers, which was a big need for them that they try to give people. And we got, so with the sale, we got like, it was like $2,000 worth of stuff for $1,100. We were able to get a lot more than we normally would have with that amount. We dropped all that off last night at Hope. And then we are working with the Boys and Girls Club to set up an emergency fund, which they have made very clear is only going to be used for the things that we've talked about here, which is helping families with food, helping families with emergency needs. So like diapers, baby food, things like that. Just really trying to be an assist there because they have so many. The reason we did that is they have so many people on their list of need that they work with that it was hard to compile a list of like 170 different families and what their needs were.
Right.
And then we have to go out and shop for it all and do all that stuff. It's kind of like, hey, they can compile it all together. And then as families have need over the holidays, because the thing that their struggle is, because they work mostly with kids, is during this time when there's no school, Vince, you know this, a lot of those kids that are on the school lunch programs,
not eating.
They're not eating.
Right.
And so Boys and Girls Club steps up and fills that void along with some of the local food pantries and things like that. So what we're doing is when families that work with, they said they have 170 families that work with them, when they express need, they have had a major void of they don't have that ability to just emergency go do it because they haven't had the resources to do it. Because of the money that you all raised and that you all gave us, we were able to start. We're going to start that fund, and I need to go actually do it now. I told the lady I would do it today, and I forgot to do it before the show. So I will go do that. Actually, I'm going to have Vince answer one of these questions. I'm going to go grab my wallet and do that while we're doing that here because we need to get that to her. I'm glad that you actually brought that up. But yeah, that's what we did. So we were able to impact a lot of families during Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah. And
I got to show something, Vince. I don't normally like do this, but I have to share the video that my mom just sent me. This is so awesome. I see if I can find this. I hope I can do this. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, I hope that the sound is on this because this is so great. All right. This is my niece, Emma. So she has can you guys hear this? Vince, can you hear?
No.
Okay. So I don't know how to share the sound, but she says, there's that man and he does this. Watch. She does the leprechaun thing. She said, here's the man who fights and does this. That's great. What she says. That's my niece, Emma.
That's great.
The best part about that, she's got the Notre Dame shirt on. Her dad's a Michigan fan.
Oh, even better.
Yep.
That deserves some claps for sure.
Yep, for absolutely. Sure. We do have a couple super chats down here, Vince. I want to pull up. Yep.
Jordan Schreiber, thank you very much. He says, you think Quinn deserves to coach the Fiesta? Should have never been hired and thus fired long ago. Better for a Fiesta win. Do you choose Harry Hiestand or Jeff Quinn? He does deserve to coach. I mean, he's the 100%. Coach this year. He absolutely deserves to coach. He
gave his very best.
Yeah.
His best, just in my opinion, isn't good enough. But Jeff Quinn, as we've said, Jeff Quinn is a good man.
Yes.
Who has worked hard to do the best job he can. I don't think it's good enough to be a championship team.
Agreed.
But Jeff Quinn has earned the right to finish the season out with his players, and they deserve the right to finish with it. This isn't like you don't see a lot of offensive linemen transferring out of Notre Dame last few years.
That's true. That's true.
They respect Coach Quinn as a person. He's a good man. He's treated those kids well. Just he's not a good enough coach.
Right.
So I believe he deserves it. And I understand the whole need to win and all that kind of stuff. I get all that. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And Jeff Quinn has earned the right to finish this season off. He's the reason that, he was the coach that was part of them going 11-1 and all this type of things. Now, do we think it's good enough? No. But has he earned the right to be there? Absolutely. And I understand, Jordan, I do understand where you're coming from. I'm not chastising you at all. I get it. I understand that. It's just, as a coach, I believe strongly in that.
Yeah,
if a coach is a problem or a cancer or keeping him is going to hurt your program, that was an issue I had a little bit at receiver. That's a different story. That's not the problem with Jeff Quinn. That's never been the problem with Jeff Quinn. He's just not a good enough football coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. No,
we have one more super chat, Vince.
From Matt, hope you both have a Merry Christmas, and I am really wishing Santa will bring us a new wide receiver coach in the new year.
Now, there's a couple people that have. I mean, like, there's one writer on the beat, and I don't know if he put this out in a premium format or not. So I'm not going to say his name or whatever, because I don't want to give away like premium information that they're putting out. But someone who I respect greatly on the beat is adamant that Dell Alexander's not coming back next year. And, again, what we've said yesterday was I haven't heard that he's leaving. I haven't heard one with I've had one source. I've had one source tell me that his contract's not being renewed. That's it. And I've only heard two names mentioned at the position. So either A, they know who they're going to go get, and it's just being kept under wraps, or it could be, or he's coming back. And it's just been like, to me, I'm leaning towards him coming back almost because I'm kind of preparing myself for it.
Right, exactly. And then if it doesn't happen, it's okay.
Right. But also because I just haven't heard from any good sources that he's going to come back. And the only sources that I've have talked to have said that they think he's coming back.
Yeah.
But I think their thinking is coming from an absence of information as opposed to they're being told necessarily.
Sure.
So, I mean, the person that I know that has been adamant about this is someone who I respect. He would not be adamant about that if he didn't have good information for it. It's just I can't jump on board to what he's saying because that's not what I have been told.
Right.
And again, I hope he's right. But I haven't been told that Dell's coming back. I just haven't been told that he isn't. And,
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yep.
Brent has a question, twofold question. Is Notre Dame in position to land that coveted number 1 ranked class? Brian, you know how I love them rankings. And secondly, will Freeman bring us the national championship in the next 5 years?
I hope so. I mean, I don't really care about the number 1 ranked class. I mean, do you know how many number 1 ranked classes Clemson has had? Way fewer than Georgia. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I don't care about that. Could they be in position to do it? Possibly. But I mean, we're already seeing what happens when Notre Dame signs big time players, right? Brennan Vernon, 5-star, no longer a 5-star. Drake Bowen, 5-star, no longer a 5-star. Now, I don't know what he's done since his football season was over with to drop in people's rankings, but he has dropped in people's rankings.
Yeah, you know what he did? He committed to Notre Dame. That's what he did.
Right. So
there's that.
I don't care. I'll put it to you like this, Brent. Can they recruiting classes that are going to give them a chance to win titles? Yes, they will. Where will Rivals or 247 rank them? Don't know. Don't care. I really don't. And we did this. Brandon says, I got my IB ordered today. Love the lipo tee. That's Let It Play Out for those that don't know. And the green IB hoodie is fire just in time for Christmas.
Green IB hoodie. Look at you.
It's a green IB Nation hoodie. So it's the IB logo, but my wife designed some new colors. So like we actually now have a green hat with a gold shamrock and a blue IB on it. And then we have the green shirt because like you can't put that green shamrock on a green hoodie. You just see the IB and you can't, just silly. But so she made the IB logo, but the shamrock is now green. So it's still the white and gold on the IB, but the shamrock, is blue, like the navy blue. And so she did that.
I like it.
We got some new designs. That's got the IB Nation stuff. We got the Let It Play Out shirts, and then I got a couple for me that I'm hoping to wear here soon in a video. So we'll check them out.
Timeout, Tom. Have you heard anything about the new offensive linemen are reacting to Coach Heastan hiring?
No.
The hiring's not official, so I'm sure they're not reacting at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know, behind the scenes, I'm sure is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
But
I haven't heard anything. And again, I doubt the players know. They're saying it like you're saying it on Twitter. I doubt that they've been told that he's going to be the next offensive line coach.
Right. Yeah, that would be premature. If you see one at the bottom, you can go ahead and pull it up.
C-Mac says, can you start getting the tall sizes on the website? I'm 6'10 and hard to get clothes.
6'10.
C-Mac, I can look into that, but I'm kind of limited on what Printful offers, basically. The thing that I'll say to you is the 3Xs and the 4Xs of the heavyweight tees are super long. So you may want to try those, but I'll look into that for you for sure. It's just I haven't seen anything that's geared towards tall. only people that are geared towards maybe wider, such as myself. So, that's all I know.
Michael McLaughlin says Heastan has done a great job with the better O-line recruits. Can you explain why his choices at right guard have always disappointed and cost the team games?
That happened 1 year, and that was 2016 because they didn't have anybody else because one of the guy that had a right guard. Okay, so the right guard in 2017 was Alex Bars. He was pretty freaking good. The right guard in 2015 was Steve Elmer. He was pretty good. The right guard in 2014 was back and forth. 2013, who was the right guard in 2013? It wasn't Golick, but I mean, some of this, I don't know. Harry Heastan's bad at picking right guards, I guess. I don't know. I got nothing for you, Michael.
Sorry, that made me laugh a little bit.
I got nothing. I mean, 2 of his last 3 years, Notre Dame had the best offensive line in college football, but the right guard sucked, I guess. I got nothing. I like this. This is a better way of saying it. The portly folks. Yes. Yes. And then Cesar, just so we're clear, I asked yesterday, is he already hired and will be back? He's not been hired. There are still things that, from what our sources tell us, there are still some things that they're working through contractually. Has not been hired, but that's my understanding is, according to very, very good sources, that's the direction that they're headed with things.
And again, once it's official and he's officially hired, Notre Dame will put that out. I mean, it'll be all over the place, right?
And that's whatever hires they make at any position are not going to be announced until after the bowl game.
Exactly. That because then the season will be over and you can make those. Yeah. David Jones, guys, on the Lucky Lefty podcast this morning, Sean commented that there's a number of new coaches coming to the Notre Dame staff and said, in addition to the obvious ones, defensive coordinator, position coaches, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have coaches there, so obviously they're going to have new coaches. I mean, they need at least 3 new coaches to fill their 10-man staff.
And maybe he's referring to some analysts and things like that may be coming on, but
you'd have to ask Sean that one. I'm not gonna comment on what Sean said in the show because I didn't hear him say that.
We didn't hear it. Yeah,
you're gonna have to ask Sean that one. But I'm sure him and Malik have talked and they have some ideas on some different things. But that's I can't comment on that.
I'm sifting through all the movie stuff.
Here's one. Crystal Rose asks, "Can we get a breakdown on the IB staff? Who are you outside of IB?"
Well, kind of what you see is what you get, Crystal. I definitely don't put on outside of a hat. I don't really put on much of a ruse, on here. I don't know. I don't know where to go with this one, Brian. I mean, I'm a dad, a husband, a father of 5. I'm a PE teacher at the local high school where I'm also the head baseball coach. I work at a local radio station as well, doing some on-air stuff, color commentary, things like that. And if I'm not working, I'm home or at a kid event. I mean, that's pretty much my life from start to finish. I mean, I'm either working or hanging with my kids. And by working, I mean coaching or doing Irish breakdown and, that kind of fun stuff. And I could not be happier. So that's my life. I mean,
sadly, I don't have much of a life outside IB. That's part of the reason I'm trying to hire people.
That's your full-time gig. Yeah. I mean,
but no, I strive to be a better man of God, and I try to be the best husband I can be. I'm a proud uncle. I have 3 Funkle shirts, right, of my different, you know what I mean? So I try to be the best son and grandson and, family man I can possibly be. But honestly, I don't have much of a life outside of IB the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's something my wife and I have talked about, wanted to do more, but we've worked a lot and to try to build this thing up, and it's taken a full-time commitment. And so, that's why I try to get home. I'm going to actually be going home in January and back home. My mom, a lot of prayers people had my mom. They finally have scheduled her surgery. It's going to be in the second week of January. So there'll be about a week there in January. I'll be doing shows from Virginia again while I'm there helping my mom and then helping my dad and helping to take care of the house and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, my family is always the most important thing in my life. And
no doubt.
And that's, and trying to help convince Vince to have better taste in movies. That's obviously one of my other goals in life.
Yeah, that's an uphill climb, brother. That's an uphill climb.
And Vince is someone who has weird quirks, like doesn't give out A+. So
it's just, it is what it
but
is.
Yeah, but I mean, we obviously have lives that we keep away from you all. But I mean, I feel like we share a lot of our lives. I mean, I just put a video of my niece on there, like because we want y'all to kind of feel like
I will say
real
this.
Us.
Yeah, I will say that my wife is very protective of our kids, and so you won't see them on social media.
Yeah. My sister has no problem with that, so that's why I put that up. But
it's not a hill I'm willing to die on. Let's put it that way.
I get it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Trust me, I get it. But the other thing too is how we conduct ourselves in these shows. This is how we are. That's the other thing is I don't want to put on this fake I'm on air persona. This is who I try to be.
Right.
Because it's hard to fake it. It's one thing we said is if we're going to do this, we're going to be ourselves. I mean, obviously we want to have a show and a structured show, and there's maybe some language I don't use on the show that I would otherwise maybe use
fair enough
while fired up. But as far as like our personality, it's like that's partly why we wanted to do this, so people could get to know us better.
Yes.
As opposed to just what I write on a message board. You know?
Exactly. And you can tell, I mean, look, we try to build this company. And I say it's like 97.3% Brian, but like try to build things around what we think is important.
Sorry. Where did you come up with that number? Like 97.3? What?
I don't know.
It's the most random number ever.
I don't know. 2.3%. I'll take it. But we try to build it around what we believe in, right? That's why we had the Thanksgiving, fundraiser and all of those, because we strongly believe in that kind of stuff. Like my kids all volunteer at church, and like, it's just how we believe, and that was really important to us when we were kind of putting this thing together, and we realized what a family that all of you out there are.
This is the only way it's going to work.
Yeah,
the only way it's going to work is we can't do a show every day and fake it. I'm not capable of that.
I can't do that either. I don't have enough brain power in my life to fake it. Like, okay,
I could come on and speak with a Southern accent every now and then. You know what I mean? Like that's about the closest I get to faking it. But
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. So, we appreciate everything that has taken place over the last year, and there's no question about that. So, so thanks to everybody, and hopefully that answers your question, Crystal. I enjoy.
She's going to come back like, no, that's not what I meant. But like, okay,
no, sorry.
What I was saying
breakdown you want.
Yeah,
I'll give you my coaching resume, I suppose, if that's what you were looking for.
Yeah. And Ben G doesn't care about any of that. He just is here to get talk Notre Dame football.
He's probably not wrong. Bang or whatever.
Well, it's a lowercase g. I mean, I'm sorry. That's how it looks.
Oh, well, here, Crystal she said for the new people, you guys should do a show on getting to know the IB staff. We see you guys so much, but would love to hear more about you guys outside of football. So there you go. So hopefully we gave.
Ask. I mean, I'm not going to do shows where like, okay, here's a daily update. Like when things come up, my mom was sick. I asked people to pray for her.
Yes,
we'll share funny stories here and then, but I mean, we also want to try to keep this about football.
Yeah,
and if people want to know, then we'll answer like you did.
Got nothing to hide.
But
I got nothing to hide whatsoever in my life. Believe me. I mean. That's for sure.
They hide my address. Like I'm not going to throw my address out there.
But we've said on more than one occasion, you and I both live in the same neighborhood. Yeah. So
if they figure you out, then it's only a matter of time before I'm they're showing up on my doorstep.
Exactly.
Like no, you don't want to come to my house. Here's where Vince lives.
Just listen real carefully for the yelling and fighting. Yes, that's what. Yeah, you'll be able to find my place real easily.
Yeah, just know I have a very deep arsenal.
So do I. I just hide behind my children.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No, we've already discussed this. I told Vince if stuff goes down, y'all come to my house.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll be like the Patriot. I'm gonna have Dylan on the rifle.
Aim small, miss small.
I'm gonna give Dylan the AR-15. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get a new, a new SIG. Don't tread on me rifle here. I'm trying to get that here, so I'll get one for Liam. Aim small, miss small.
Aim small, miss small.
Yep.
It's a great movie.
Yep.
All right. Jim, let's go back to just a little bit of football here. Jim says, chunk plays the defense has given up seem to be the counter and QB keep on read zone. Your thoughts?
Well, so I believe the long run against Toledo was. I don't think the long run against Florida State was. I thought that was just a straight ISO kick out, but I could go back and look at that and find that out. I think QB runs is definitely one. Like that's They've had a lot of chunk plays on that, like scrambles and some quarterback design runs, but especially on scrambles. So yeah, I think that's a part of it. They've had some big plays that they've given up in the pass game due to blown assignments. You know, if you remember the play where they Florida State just a bad technique and got beat. There was the big play against Toledo where KJ Wallace went under the other guy instead of going over top on a wheel route. You know, those were early in the season as well. Those have been mostly kind of the issues at those positions has been just blown assignments. But as far as chunk runs, Toledo was a counter play where that was the play they had the bad call. I mentioned that they had a bad call. I'm actually watching that long run now. Yeah, that was a counter play. He's right. The play against Florida State was a counter play. So yeah, jab step delay, bam, hit that counter and missed it. Whiffed tackle by DJ Brown, missed tackle by Cam Hart, and he's gone. So yeah. So and the Toledo one was too. So both of those long touchdowns early in the season were on counter plays. So good call on that. Very good call on that. But that's kind of what can happen, and we haven't seen that happen later in the season because that guys have a better understanding of what their assignments are. The both of those plays were MAs. They were both missed assignments both times. Got a super chat down here, Vince.
From Alan. Thanks, Alan. Merry Christmas, guys. I hope you and yours have an awesome day. Keep up the good work into the new year.
Vince,
thank you very much,
Alan. Got some things in common. You see his little avatar there.
Yeah, baby. The burst. Thank you, Alan, very, very much. And in fact, before too long, I'm going to have to go up and start dressing the children for the Christmas Eve service. So speaking of family and mine and, all that. But we got some time here. Here we go. Anthony says, Merry Christmas, ND Nation. Just got my IB hat that matches Brian's and the wife a pink one. Sweet and great quality, which is also very, very important. And let me tell you, from the standpoint of watching Brian select a garment company and all of these different things, the quality was uber important because we didn't want, the IB brand to be out there on garbage, right?
I own almost everything that we sell because I wanted to test it first.
Absolutely. So there's
some things like you remember those water bottles we had at first
right over here.
We took those off because they didn't look good. I didn't like them.
Yep. So the quality is very, very important to us. So just in case anybody was curious.
Mark one says meet and greet in Glendale. We're not going to do one in Glendale. We're going to do something in Phoenix the day before. So follow me on Twitter, or if you're on the message board, those are the two places that I'll put those out. Yeah.
We need to talk about that. Here we go. Alan says, do you think we will see any old Notre Dame Hall of Famers like Rocket Tim Brown on the sidelines at the bowl?
I honestly don't know.
It's possible. I think he's very, Marcus Freeman's very amenable to having guys like that around the program. So, it's absolutely possible. It's just who's going to make it out there. You know what I mean? It's January 1st. Who knows? I don't know. I think it'd be cool, though. I do. I think it'd be really cool to see the support of the alumni.
We have a super chat from Joseph Popiti.
Hey, Joseph.
That one, Vince?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the super chat. Just wanted to say Merry Christmas to you both and all of IB Nation. I'm stuck in my room isolating myself with COVID. Yup. Breakthrough case. Doing well, though. Just keeping the family safe. You guys brighten my day. Hey,
glad we could help.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that gets real boring real fast. And glad we could help, Joseph, very, very much.
It's funny when my wife had COVID and we had to quarantine, it really didn't change anything. We both work from house, so it's like, okay.
And you're both on a different floor.
You can't take work off like crap. I work out of the house. Dang it.
That's funny. Colin Park says, should we expect a Peyton Bowen commitment anytime soon?
I'm not going to go there because, number one, I'm not going to take the kid's moment away. Number two, I don't think he has set a commitment date. I just know that Notre Dame right now is in a really good position with him and Christian Gray, who are a couple 2023 DBs. Now, does that mean they're going to commit, next Tuesday? And I'm literally making that date up. I don't know, but I know Notre Dame's in a good place. But other schools are not backing down with either one of those guys.
I don't know if you want to address this or not, but it says thoughts on the possibility to take a look at the wide receiver coach from Purdue based off his work with Rondell Moore and David Bell. Though there's no opening at wide receiver, but
as of now, if he was interested in the position, I would absolutely. It's Jacoby Shepard is his name, I believe. Not only did he coach those guys up, but he recruited them both as well. But yes, Jacoby Shepard would absolutely be on my short list of guys that I would look at receivers coach. Yes, absolutely.
This one is from Orange Tuano, and I'm going to guess that this is an Oklahoma State fan because it says, do either Cone or Buckner run? That's a tough matchup against our D. Christmas Story and Bad Santa are top 1 and 2.
Those are two like polar opposite movies.
No doubt.
That's your 1 and 2, which I kind of like that diversity there, though. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of like that little 1-2 punch there. But Buckner can run a lot. Jack Cone is a pocket passer.
Yes, I think that is a safe thing.
Yep. Here we go. Cesar says, when are you guys branching out to IB bourbon or whiskey? That's the Lucky Lefty podcast for that one, okay? So you're going to have to go to Lucky Lefty to get the whiskey. I don't drink. Vince doesn't drink, and I've always kind of felt it was kind of silly to, like that. Just that to
We're
me
not going to put something out there
that's outside my area of expertise. Yeah. So just but lucky. But Malik Zaire on the Lucky Lefty pot, he does have a. I think it's a whiskey, isn't it, Vince? I think it's a whiskey.
Yeah.
So reach out to Malik and see what company he is with.
Somehow I got bumped way down. I got to go back up.
I got a super chat, and I'll read it while you're looking. Mike Sullivan says, met Rocket at the Cotton Bowl a couple years ago. Super nice guy. I'll bet he is at the Fiesta Bowl. Merry Christmas, everyone. That'd be awesome. I'd love. Yeah,
Rocket's a good dude, man.
I'd love that.
We had him on a radio show that I do prior, pregame of all the games, and we had him on. Dude's got some energy.
I would love to have him interview.
Dude has some
energy. Would never happen, but I would love to interview Rocket.
Oh man, has he got some energy? Yep. He is the same dude he was when he was in college.
Yep. And Drew St. Blaise says, you guys need an IB Mountain Dew collab. Hey, I have told Blue Wire Pods that over and over and over again. Like, y'all need to hook up a Mountain Dew thing with us. Like, I don't think there's anyone that does a podcast that drinks more Mountain Dew than we do. So, and yes, and that's another one where maybe 97.3% of that might be me.
I mean, I've got it here, but it looks like it's red because it's one of those color changing cups. But it's definitely the knockoff version. I mean, I don't name brand just doesn't happen in my house.
Well, you know one thing Vince is getting for Christmas. Get a case of Mountain Dew.
And I promise you it will only be drunk by me.
Angela's like, do you want to get him a gift card or something? He's like, no, we're getting him a case of Mountain Dew.
Dude, I will it'd be great.
Yes.
I get it when it's on sale, so I know when all the sales are. Okay, Brian, it's just so weird for me. It goes from 136 to 302.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure what's up with that, but it did. So I'm probably down near where you are at this point.
Okay.
So I apologize to everybody. It might just be a glitch in the system.
Yeah.
Here we go. Some IB tracksuits would be dope. Imagine a tailgate with all of us in them.
That'd be IB freaking Mafia. Awesome.
That would be hilarious.
That would be awesome. That would be so great. That would be so great. I'm going to look into that. IB Mafia on tracksuits. That is like such a great idea. I love it. I love it.
Funny.
That is so awesome. Just like walking in the stadium, there's like one group with like the the IB tracksuits say IB Mafia on them. That'd be so awesome.
Would be hilarious.
That'd be so amazing.
That would be so
and
funny.
that makes up for his earlier comment about I wish Cade Madden had another year of eligibility left so he could be coached by Harry Stan.
I didn't see
It's going to be
that.
30 by next year.
Yeah, I know, right? It'd be Dr. Madden. I mean, it'd be school so long. It was 7 years
Lots
senior.
of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah,
they're called doctors. That's awesome.
Oh my goodness gracious, that's great. That's great. IB Mafia.
I think that's awesome.
Oh man, Michael Scarn. Die Hard 1 is a Christmas movie. What about Flash Gordon? I don't know. I haven't seen that one. Like I was a little kid when that movie came out, and
I have definitely not seen that one, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
Here, Jack Woods wants to know what the starting O-line will look like in 22.
I mean, look. So I'll just my best shot at it would be barring. I would say my hope is that based on what we know right now, where guys are playing right now, you'll have Joe Alt and Blake Fisher at tackle. Jarrett Patterson hopefully comes back. He'd be at center. I think at that point in time, you have John Dirksen, Andrew Kristofic, Rocco Spindler, Quinn Carroll, and Zeke Correll battling out for the 2 guard spots. So I would hope that Rocco Spindler would emerge and take one of those jobs. But if not, somebody beats him out. It is what it is. But that would be my best look at it. Yep.
We have another super chat at the bottom if you want to grab that one.
You can.
From Alan, again, the Bears. Who makes the biggest step forward next year? I'm thinking Tyler Buckner with a year under his belt. I think he takes off. If he does, that's real good news for Notre Dame. I think that's not a bad one at all. It's probably what I would have picked too. Oh, the biggest step forward. I think here, I'll go here. I think Xavier Watts could have a huge leap forward. I think an offseason with him at safety, repping safety in the spring, etc. I think he could be a dude at safety. I think he could take a huge step.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think that's a good one. I mean, again, it's just hard for me because I got to know, number one, who's coming back. Number two, who's coaching certain guys. I could see Deion Colsey being a guy that takes if Kevin Austin goes pro, I could see Deion Colsey being a guy that has, if he, with better coaching, hopefully, could be a guy that could see a big jump next year. He's got that kind of ability.
Yeah.
But if Kevin Austin doesn't go pro and it's the same receivers coach, then I may have to, change my view on that. Xavier Watts is one that, to me, I feel like, yeah, Vince, I think that's a good one. I think a guy that could also is Maris Lewifau. Again, that's kind of strange because we didn't see him this year, but from where he was in 2020 to where I think he can be, he's a guy that I think could take a big jump as well. And then there's another defensive lineman. I could see either Riley Mills or Alexander Ahrensberger taking a big jump next year as well. I think one of those two guys, to me, just feels like they're poised for a monster breakout. And I mention them because if Jason Adamiola comes back, I could see them both being in the mix at big end next season. Definitely could see that.
Mark 1, my son gave me an IB hoodie. It's a good son.
Good
right
son.
there.
Very good
really
son.
Good son.
Very good son. Paul Rose says he thinks the offensive line takes the biggest step next year.
I mean,
and yeah. And honestly, even if Jeff Quinn came back, I think we'd have seen a jump in the offensive line next year. Just from experience standpoint, would it have been great? No. But if you get the right coach in there, and if what we're hearing is true and it's Harry Hiestand, then I mean, as far as a unit that could take the biggest jump next year, absolutely, Paul could be onto something. And I got to pull this one up, Vince. Joseph Sergey, because you'll appreciate this because this was on your list of favorite movies.
You darn right.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Did Notre Dame have any real interest in Slovis from USC? I was told the offensive coaching staff was not other than just interest in gauging where things stood, was not overly interested in making that move happen. He went to Pitt, right? I mean, if Notre Dame really wanted Keaton Slovis, I think Keaton Slovis would have come Notre Dame. He's from Arizona. It's not like Pitt is, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's kind of where Vince, let's get a couple more. Oh, here's this shouldn't have made me laugh, but it did. And then I felt bad about it. But Cesar says, in my country of Chile, is it Chile? I don't know how you say that. but there's a company that makes their own version of Coke. It's called Pericola. After a few months, you start losing your hair. I don't know why. Like my initial thought was to laugh at that, but then I was like, "Oh, that's not good at all. That's terrible.
No, that's not good."
I was like, "What? You lose your hair?
The knockoff Mountain Dew doesn't make you lose your hair.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's not why Vince wears a hat." Jeff Faluke asked, "Any thoughts on Kerry G?" Reached out to some people. It doesn't sound like there was any negativity, any ill will. He just kind of looked at a lot of guys ahead of him that were just better. He was far away from home. He was one of the kids recruited during the COVID year, which you always get a little bit concerned about. And I just think he wanted to go somewhere where there was a more realistic path to playing, which I am fine with. It doesn't sound like the staff necessarily like fought him on it.
Yeah.
Right. Because remember, Kerry was recruited by the previous staff. He signed, I believe, before Marcus Ream was hired. And I think there might have been a concern for him about fitting into this defense as well. So there you go.
I'm okay to wrap it up. If you
no other good ones.
Corey D says nothing against Drew White, but I'm hoping he doesn't come back. We need more speed. Plus, we need that position group to evolve. Your thoughts?
Well, if Drew White came back, I would be willing to bet you that he's not going to be promised a starting job. I mean, that's something that I think that we're going to see a lot less of moving forward. Is that so? I'm going to ask this. I'm going to just answer this one finally publicly because I kind of did the other day. But Glenn Baskin said, "Brian, what's the deal with you and Notre Dame press passes? Are you on super secret probation? I am not in any sort of super secret probation. It's very easy." That's why Mike Hutton and Vince are represent Irish Breakdown. In order to be in the press box, you have to be vaccinated, and I'm not vaccinated, and I have no intention to be vaccinated. That's my personal choice. I don't feel the science based on what I've experienced with COVID and what all the data tells me is that I don't necessarily need a vaccine. And I have thoughts about it that make me say it's not something that I'm comfortable doing at this time. And so I made that choice, knowing that by making that choice, I can't attend I can't sit in the press box. Now, I can buy a ticket and sit right behind the team, but I can't sit in the press box for some reason with a bunch of vaccinated people because I don't know why. But that's their policy, and it is what it is. And so I made that choice. And so Vince is vaccinated, so we don't judge here at Irish Breakdown. No mandates, no judgment either way. And so he's in the press box, and he made what he thought was the best decision for himself, and I support it either way. But I made the decision I made, and that's one of the nice things about hiring people to work for you is send them to the game. And you go sit right by the team, way closer than you would be in the press box.
No doubt.
You got to buy a ticket.
We're on the 9th floor in the press box in a closed room, but whatever. It's all good.
So yes, so we can move past that. That's not. I've heard that there is a couple other sites that have said that I've been banned, which is just sheer stupidity.
Yeah, right.
If I couldn't be there tomorrow, but there's a 14-day
right
period, I don't know if inoculation period or whatever. I don't know. What it is.
You got to wait 2 weeks. Whatever.
Yeah. So, but if I chose to get vaccinated and I could be there and there's no probation, I could be there like anybody else if I was willing to meet the requirements, and I'm just not willing to do so.
Well, now, I mean, we just got an update from the Fiesta Bowl that there's no in-person interviews anymore. They've totally taken those off. So,
which I'm fine with. I mean,
fine.
Because of the rules, because they're still treating Omicron like other variants, which I'm sorry, if you follow the science and the data, it shouldn't be treated as such. I get it, because if you test positive, you're out.
Right.
So keep them away from people that aren't part of the. I mean, we said this the other day. If I was Notre Dame, I would not allow another media person or anyone else in the program to be around the game until now and January 1st. I wouldn't, because that's the rules. You got to you can't say, well, hey, he's asymptomatic. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He's vaccinated. He's triple vaccinated and boosted, and doesn't matter.
Doesn't
if
matter.
Test positive, you're out. And especially now, because every single bit of data I've seen shows that more people that are vaccinated are testing positive for Omicron than unvaccinated people. That's what it's from the UK, that's from South Africa. It's like from all. So the point being, not that it's just that this is not something that the vaccine is going to keep you from testing positive for, is the point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with that decision by them because of the rules the NCAA and the bowl committees have said for, if you test positive, you can't play. Then I'm going to do everything I can to, with the exception of, I'm not keeping them from going home. That
right.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
But
either.
other than that, yeah, there's no reason to let them around it. Be honest with you. So there you go.
Bronx ND fan, I'll prepay now for an IB tracksuit. So there you go.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Don't do that because I don't know if I'm going to have the tracksuit. It may be cool now, but then I look at the options and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I like those options. Michael Scarn, the Chilean Coke did not make Michael Scarn lose his hair. He blames Charlie Weiss for that. So here's a good question. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Vince.
put Nolan's up there. Nolan, I will buy an IB tracksuit, and I know several other Indy fans that would buy one.
I'll look into that. I'll definitely look into that. Jeffrey, this is a good question. If it is Harry Hiestand, is there any big philosophy difference between Quinn and Hiestand, or any concerns on the types of guys that Hiestand likes, and what we currently have? Harry Hiestand's very familiar with the Notre Dame roster. And I mean, I think Jeff Quinn focused more on interior guys than I think Harry Hiestand otherwise would have. But some of those interior guys can play, like Rocco Spindler.
Sure.
The current class, however, is a lot of guys that can play on the edge. There are a lot of the 6'5", the guys that are athletic. It's much closer to a Harry Hiestand type of class. You look at guys like Joe Walton and Blake Fisher; those absolutely would have been guys Harry Hiestand would have gone after. Rocco Spindler, somebody that Coach Hiestand would have gone after. Tosh Baker's probably someone Coach Hiestand would have gone after. He's very similar to Ronnie Stanley in that regards. Michael Carmony's definitely a guy that I think Harry Hiestand would have liked. So yeah, there's definitely some guys there that I think Harry Hiestand would have liked. So I'm quite certain that he likes the roster that they have, and I imagine he would. And just it needs to be coached up. This is what we've been saying all year. There's nothing wrong with the talent at Notre Dame. It just needs to be developed. I mean, that to me is really the big thing. Is you just need to develop the players that are there. That's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Nolan Sanchez says Prince, Colley, Snead, JD, Jr., and Bo Bauer. That is a top 3 linebacker room in the country. You're leaving out Maris Luafau. You're leaving out Josh Burnham. You're leaving out Jack. I mean, Notre Dame has a chance, talent-wise, to have a great linebacker room next year. It's not going to be up to Marcus Freeman and whoever he hires as his linebackers coach and coordinator to coach those guys up. So that would be the thing for me. So, and Vince, we're going to do this. This will be the last question that we answer. Okay. And that is, I want to answer. So Randy Kim says, can you make more cool IB merch in the Kelly Green, please? So just so you know, Randy, the problem is there's just not a lot there's just not a lot of options in that color. There's not a lot of clothes. Like there's like one hat that is in that color, and that's in the store. Like that's it. There's no flex fit hats that are Kelly Green. It's kind of like the polos. They only offer the polos in white, gray, and dark gray. They don't offer them in blue. They don't offer them in green. They finally found a T-shirt that I can offer in green and a hoodie, but for a while there wasn't even a hoodie that had green.
Yeah.
So I like the green. That's why I had my wife make those new logos to match it. But it's just, unfortunately, there's just not a lot. They don't, because the way we do it, we do. Was it Vince? What's it called? Print on demand, right? Where I don't have like a stack of IB gear in my house that I have to then go mail out. There's no way I could do that. No way.
Exactly.
I don't have the money to invest in buying all of it. I don't have the time to then ship it all out and do all that. It's print on demand. And so we're kind of, we can only sell what they offer us. And so that's kind of where it is. And then just one last comment from Mark Stallman before we get to our final question. Where was that final question? I got to remember where it was. But
Mark said,
there we go.
Yeah.
Go and read this one, Vince.
Rocket wasn't just fast; he was hard to tackle. I remember a TV commentator saying someone get a net, remembering the great Rocket. Yeah,
his leg drive was tremendous. Like what the Michigan, was it the second Michigan touchdown? He just ran over like a dude.
Yeah.
Just ran over a dude.
Yeah.
He was so strong because he's still a little guy. He was a little guy back then, but he would run dudes over. Here's a good one, Vince, because we're getting close to being. The thing about Christmas is always New Year's right around the corner. Brian Buchanan asks, what's your breakout players for 2022, Vince?
Man.
We're going to go one on offense. We're going to go one on defense. So you have to go first.
Well, I guess we've kind of already talked about both of these guys for me, but I think Tyler Buchner is going to be the guy on offense. And I think Xavier Watts is going to be the guy on defense. Those are my two.
Now, for me, I'm going to go two ways with it.
Okay.
On offense, I'm going to go Tyler Buchner just because, that's an obvious one. The defense, I'm going to go a guy that's a breakout player from someone who's not really playing a lot to someone who I think is going to be a really impact player, and then someone who's already a starter who I think is going to become a national star. Okay. My first one is I'm going to go with Vince. It's Xavier Watts. The other guy that I wanted to consider was Maris Liufau, but I just got to see him play first.
Yeah.
But I really think Maris is a guy that could become a difference maker at Notre Dame. And I talked earlier about Riley Mills could be that guy, Alexander, but I'm going to go with Watts for now. The guy that's a starter now that I think is going to go from a starter now to like a good player now to a star next year, like a national star.
I got one of those too.
It's going to be the same guy. I know exactly. It's going to be Cam Hart.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's going to be Cam Hart.
Absolutely.
So that's 100%. My national breakout player next year. Now, offensively, it could, I could see Chris Tyree, Logan Diggs, Kevin Austin, if he comes back, would be that guy for me. If Kevin Austin comes back next year, he's going to become a national player.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't, there's some other guys out there, that could have breakouts. But there are several guys that I think could be breaking. Logan Diggs could be a breakout player.
That was going to be my. If it wasn't
Lorenzo
Austin,
Styles,
I was going to go Diggs.
Yeah. If Kevin Austin leaves, Deion Coles, he's going to go from, he could have a Golden Tate, Will Fuller type of year to emergence. I think he could.
Right.
What I mean by that is Will Fuller went and Golden Tate caught 6 passes as freshmen. As true sophomores, they both went over 1,000 yards because the opportunity is there. Now, if Deion, if Kevin Austin, and I'm not saying that he's going to go for 1,000, but what I mean is a humongous jump in production because the opportunity is there.
Right.
So that's what's kind of has me excited about next year's team, Vince, is there are a lot of guys that
no question
doing that. So
no question about it.
And then last one, we got a super chat from TJ Fallon. I think this is a great way to end the show, Vince.
Yes, go Irish.
Go Irish. TJ, thanks for the super chat, and I agree with you completely. Go Irish. So that's going to do it for today's show, Vince. Why don't you take us out of here?
Hey, man, thanks to everybody. We were over 400 live watchers pretty much the entire time on a Christmas Eve. So thank you for joining us. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I love the mailbags. You all know that. And then to do it on Christmas Eve, I get to wear a goofy hat and have some fun with everybody and talk Christmas movies. And I had a great time. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. It was a lot of fun. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Enjoy your families on Christmas Eve. Enjoy your Christmas Day. This is one of my most favorite times of the year. There's no question about it. So enjoy from us to you. Really appreciate it. Of course, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We plan on having shows all next week. It's going to be a little hairy at times because we're going to be traveling and all of those fun things, but we're traveling for a great reason to watch Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. So we're going to dive right back into Oklahoma State breakdowns and all that fun stuff come, Monday. So make sure you hit that notification bell because you never know when we're going to be
yourself back. For Christmas to a membership at irishbreakdown.com.
Of course. And the link
boards.irishbreakdown.com or ib.irishbreakdown.com. Both will get you there.
Check it out because there's always good stuff over there. Again, people have been talking about the accuracy of Brian's intel. Believe me, people, it's accurate. So you want to be on the message board. It makes a great gift for tomorrow morning for those of you who are still looking for your last minute gifts. I may or may have not bought my last gift right before the show. Just saying. So make sure you give us a 5-star review if you're listening to us on the podcast. And hit that subscribe button. But thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Brian, and to your lovely wife as well. And we will talk to everybody next time on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.